Good morning. It is 5 a.m. and I'm not Joan Jones. I'm Jay Harper in for Joan, and I've got your top stories. Iran's foreign minister is set to hold talks with diplomats from Europe today in Geneva as President Trump is setting a timeline for himself for a decision on whether to launch a possible American attack on Iran's nuclear program. Here's ABC's Inez de la Catera.
President Trump with a new deadline, saying he'll decide within 2 weeks whether to strike Iran. Israel is vowing to dismantle Iran's nuclear program, now threatening to intensify its military campaign after yesterday's Iranian missile strike on a hospital in southern Israel. Sources say President Trump has approved attack plans, adding he's getting comfortable with the idea of the U.S. taking out Iran's underground Fordo nuclear plant. But the so-called bunker buster bomb that would be used is unproven on the battlefield.
Back here in Tennessee, transportation officials say a rock slide on I-40 near the state line. Well, it may take at least a couple of weeks to clear and repair before the road can reopen. Both directions of Interstate 40 remain closed near the North Carolina-Tennessee state line after flooding and a rock slide covered the road with all kinds of muddy water and debris on Wednesday. Mark Nagy, he's the Regional Communications Officer for the Tennessee Department of Transportation, said the road is closed just east of exit 451. That is Waterville Road. That's appropriate. That's in Cobb County. Yesterday, Nagy said a massive amount of water was still flowing from the slope as crews worked to clear the roadway. The National Weather Service told Tennessee DOT that about 3.5 inches of rain fell in a very short amount of time on Wednesday. The rain had an impact, creating 4 slides, including the largest one that's on the interstate there at the state line. We now have the market numbers report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found online at beaconcm.com. We get a recap of yesterday's close.
U.S. markets were closed for the Juneteenth holiday. President Trump signed an executive order giving video sharing app TikTok more time to come under domestic ownership or be banned in the U.S. The 90-day reprieve is the third time Trump has extended the deadline for the Chinese-owned app to find an American buyer. The L.A. Lakers are reportedly being sold at a valuation of $10 billion, the highest amount ever for a U.S. pro sports team. Real estate mogul Jerry Buss bought the Lakers in 1979 for $67 million. The majority of the team will now be owned by L.A. Dodgers owner Mark Walter. More than 100 of Napoleon Bonaparte's personal items are going on auction next week. The collection includes personal papers and clothing, including the iconic bicorn hat Napoleon wore in a battle. The hat is expected to sell for more than $500,000. The items will be on display at Sotheby's in Paris ahead of the sale on Wednesday.
Now let's take a look at your stock futures here this morning. The Dow down 65, the S&P down 10 3/4, the NASDAQ down 41. That's the latest news. We've got your first traffic report and a steamy weather forecast coming up. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Already a couple of crashes to report here early this morning. Interstate 40 westbound, the off-ramp there at exit 208. That's actually the off-ramp to northbound 65. The left lane of that ramp is blocked. There's a crash there already. And Murfreesboro Pike and Nashboro Boulevard in Antioch, we've got a wreck reported there. Traffic volume is really low this morning, so really those incidents not affecting traffic all that much just yet. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.507 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. Welcome on into a Friday. It is June 20th. Headline from CNN. White House says the U.S. remains in contact with Iran. As you know, yesterday, President Trump coming out and saying, you know what, I'm going to give him 2 weeks. The second that I heard that, I thought, all right, is he just playing with Iran? Because, you know, he could turn on a dime, that President Trump. So we'll have to see what happens. But when the president made that announcement, you had Caroline Leavitt, who made the announcement during the White House press briefing. Iran then suddenly comes out and they start boasting that they have hidden their nuclear material. It has been all moved, they say, to a safe place before Israel struck military sites. In other words, I think Iran is now feeling a little emboldened, but this is something that they have always said. Iran has always said that they have the ability, or they have moved their nuclear material to a safe place. And so we don't really know what the truth is. What we do know is that Iran, the leadership of Iran, they have survived this far. And they had a big military strike night before last with the hospital and with the apartment building. And the bombing, of course, does continue. So I was surprised. Were you surprised that President Trump, after all that he had said about Iran, they need to have their immediate surrender. He had really elevated the rhetoric, ratcheting up the threats and the demands. Remember, over the last several days, Donald Trump has said, evacuate Tehran, evacuate now, demanding their complete surrender, then saying to their leadership, we'll let you live for now. And then all of a sudden yesterday, he decided that he's going to give diplomacy a try, and Iran has 2 weeks to make a decision. Britain, by the way, just kind of getting you up to speed, Britain has said that they would take part in peace talks with Iran. By the way, we also, even though Trump has given Iran a couple of weeks and he's giving diplomacy a chance, he says, we also have a ton of warplanes and ships in the region. The bunker-busting plane can be there incredibly quickly. And Iran has also come out and they've said, you know what, United States? Because you're in bed with Israel, we're not going to negotiate with you. And so now Britain has come out and said that they will take part in peace talks with Iran. So now yesterday's press briefing, Caroline Leavitt, it did get off to an interesting start. I love this question. Listen very closely to the question.
Caroline, thank you. So Rhino warmonger Lindsey Graham, he recently called on the U.S. to go all in.
That's quite the lead to a question.
Right. What's your message to everyday Trump supporters? Not the Tucker Carlsons or other big names, but everyday Trump supporters, grassroots who voted for President Trump to stop the wars, rejected this in the primary, going into another war with voting against Nikki Haley. and they want to see non-U.S. involvement in this war. What's your message?
So clearly, and first of all, I love how he says, what did he say? Rhino warmongering Lindsey Graham. That's how the reporter started off the question in calling for, a lot of Republicans. Lindsey Graham, certainly one of them. And remember, one of the things that I said yesterday, I think it was about the same time, where I talked about how Lindsey Graham has received all these donations from all of these different defense contractors, military contractors and the like. So, and I've got some polling, by the way, coming up, some polling that actually shows that vastly, by and large, Republican Party actually is siding with Donald Trump on this issue. They trust Donald Trump on this issue. Now, clearly, by the way, this guy that called Lindsey Graham a rhino warmongering, I think that's what he said, one of the new media reporters, more than likely. But, it is a good question.
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump kept America and the world safe in his first term as president in implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And with respect to Iran, nobody should be surprised by the president's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been unequivocally clear about this for decades, not just as president, not just as a presidential candidate, but also as a private citizen.
Yeah, exactly. Trust the guy, and I said this yesterday, trust the guy who doesn't want the war. That's the guy that you trust. Trust the guy who has said all his life that he wants to stay out of war. That's the guy that you trust. Vladimir Putin has now come out, because I'm kind of integrating all the latest headlines in here. Vladimir Putin has now warned Donald Trump that using a bunker buster to get that underground nuclear facility would be, in the words of Vladimir Putin, catastrophic. Those bunker busters, they're not nuclear, but they can be equipped with nuclear capabilities to reach lower depths. And so the Kremlin says that bombing this facility, bombing this nuclear facility could spark a wider conflict across the Middle East. And that is why Vladimir Putin is warning Donald Trump. And my message to Vladimir Putin would be go pound sand. Donald Trump already knows that. That is why Donald Trump is taking extreme care in whatever move that he makes. By the way, another question. What would a deal with Iran look like? And it's a very good question, because what is the ultimate goal of Donald Trump, and what is the ultimate goal of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu? Because their goals are not the same. I don't believe their goals are the same. All Donald Trump has said all along, Iran cannot have a nuke. And you've got Benjamin Netanyahu with Israel, and he wants, Iran not to have seemingly any nuclear capabilities, but they're also destroying basically as much of their military capability as they possibly can, and they also want regime change. So that question, what would a deal look like between the United States, Israel, Iran, and so forth? What would that look like? That question was posed to Caroline Levitt yesterday. I've got the answer. I've got the audio straight ahead. It is 5:15. By the way, watch us on Facebook, watch us on YouTube, watch us on 99.7, and also watch us on X if you would. If you're the kind of person that likes to watch a radio show, if you want to listen via the apps, we are everywhere. On the iHeartRadio app, we're on the TuneIn app. We are also on the 99.7 WTN app. Basically, go to the website. We've got a whole page right there of all of the different ways that you can listen. And, of course, you can listen right here on the radio at 99.7 FM. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads.
Yes, Dan, in Metro Center, we've got the left two lanes blocked, 65 northbound, just before exit 85. And frankly, there's a lot of road work going on in and around the loop of Nashville. So the authorities, they freely admit the left two lanes blocked 65 northbound before Rosa Parks. It may be road work. They're not real sure. Now, the off-ramp left lane is blocked due to road work. 40 westbound, the off-ramp to I-65 northbound. We do have a crash in Antioch, Murfreesboro Pike, and Nashboro Boulevard. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. As far as the weather goes, today, high of 90, partly cloudy. Saturday, high of 94, mostly sunny. And on Sunday, a high of 95 and isolated thunderstorms as well. If you've got a pool, you might be able to finally use it this weekend. And appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. By the way, when you watch us on YouTube, very quickly, when you watch us on YouTube, take the Daily Dan poll. Today's question, because the idea has been floated, as far as a $15 an hour federal minimum wage. That would, I think, more than double it, right? Or at least double it, because right now the federal minimum wage is at $7.25. I believe it's $7.25 or $7.50. So you double that to $15 an hour, and that idea has now been floated. I think it was Josh Hawley that floated that idea. And so we have posed the question on the YouTube page for the Daily Dan poll. And KGB, what are the numbers so far?
First of all, you are right. The current federal is $7.25. I just found that out. And now it is 82% to no.
82% say no.
They do not want it to rise to $15.
Okay, very good. What is the minimum wage here in Tennessee? What do you make, KGB? I'm totally kidding.
To be fair, I mean, this would probably help me in a way.
Well, so here's what happens, and I don't want to get into this right now, but here's basically what happens is, and what is what is the Tennessee minimum wage? Is it like, I think it's $8.25 or $8.50?
It's close. I think
it's something like that. But if you raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour.
Oh, it's the same as the federal.
Oh, is it?
$7.25.
All right. Well, then we'll see
what
what happens.
Someone can correct me, but Google says it's $7.25. So if I'm wrong, let us know.
Yeah,
but
yeah. We'll get into that later on, because there's a lot there besides just, hey, let's raise the minimum wage. There are, implications on businesses. There's implications for, inflation. They've got to make up that money somewhere. So we'll talk about that straight ahead here before the morning ends here on Nashville's Morning News. Now, what would a deal look like between Iran, America, Israel? That question was posed to Caroline Levitt.
What exactly would a deal with Iran need to entail?
No enrichment of uranium, and it would absolutely not. Iran is absolutely not able to achieve a nuclear weapon. The president has been very clear about that. And by the way, the deal that Special Envoy Witkoff proposed to the Iranians was both realistic and acceptable within its terms, and that's why the president is sent that deal to them.
So, it does seem to me, and by the way, you'll notice that Caroline Levitt did not say anything about regime change. So it does seem to me that this situation, it's a lot less complicated than really what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, which some are comparing it to. I don't see them as the same thing at all. Iran, through Hamas, invaded Israel October 7th after a couple of years, frankly, of relative peace. To me, everything, despite all that history over the many, many decades, really that was the moment where things began anew, started again, when Iran paid Hamas, through Hamas, invading Israel and killing over 1,200 people. That's when things started anew. The clear violator in this case is Iran, through Hamas. And so for me, we played that audio, I think it was yesterday. This week, we played that audio. Remember that asinine audio of those influencers? It was either a bunch of influencers or man-on-the-street interviews. Oh, Iran didn't do anything. They were just living their best life, and here comes Israel. Are you kidding me? The ignorance out there in America today, the apathy, where people are just, they're so incredibly ignorant, and they come up with these opinions literally without doing any kind of modicum of research, but whatever.
I believe the actual quote in that video was unprovoked. It was unprovoked attack by Israel.
That's right. It was unprovoked. Okay, whatever you say, people. When you think about the plotting, the money involved, the training, because remember, Hamas, and I'm telling you things, folks, that you already know. Hamas was trained by Iran's Revolutionary Guard. We've still got the hostages. Yet there's even people in Washington, D.C. who are lawmakers who will say, oh, yeah, this whole thing with Israel and Iran, it was unprovoked. And it's like, come on, man.
Is the possibility of the U.S. getting involved in regime change in Iran at all on the table at this point?
The president's Sure. The president's top priority right now is ensuring that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon and providing peace and stability in the Middle East.
Yep. Again, regime change is something that folks like Lindsey Graham are demanding. Israel is demanding. President Trump is not. And so there's like every morning this week, there has been a lot going on. This is interesting. CNN. Trump draws MAGA backlash over potential U.S. strikes on Iran. Number one, I don't think that is a breaking news. I do have some polling on this, and we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. Really interesting polling, actually, CNN did, and maybe I'll talk about this at 5:35. Really interesting thing CNN did. They spoke about, speaking of MAGA backlash, right? They started talking about the fate of Republicans who go against Donald Trump. I want you to think about this. The fate of Republicans that go against or pick a fight with Donald Trump. We'll talk about that before 6 o'clock right here on Nashville's Morning News. It is 5:23. On Super Talk 99.7, Jay Harper in for Joan. Joan is back, I believe, on Tuesday. So,
that's what I'm told, because I'm going to be here Monday.
Okay, so Jay is here today, clearly. Captain Obvious moment. And also Monday. Jay, what's coming up in the news at 6?
Yeah, Dan. So when will the president decide on a possible military operation against Iran? And more on the possible cause of that tragic Air India crash. And President Trump, he's back in control of troops in California. We'll have those stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Satan knows Scripture better than some Christians, and for that reason should be respected because he has centuries of experience in deceiving and tempting people. Satan understands our human nature and our motivations. Satan has the power to plant thoughts in our minds if we allow it through ignorance. John 13:2, during supper, the devil having already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, to betray him, that being Jesus, Satan can possess non-believers as well. Luke 22:3, and Satan entered into Judas, who was called Iscariot, belonging to the number of the 12. Satan actually tries harder on Christians because Christians become his enemies when we accept Christ as our Savior. The best news, Christians share in Jesus' victory since he defeated Satan's power on the cross. John 16:33, these things I have spoken to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you may have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. Scan to learn more.
528, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening. And there's other news today. I came in and my goal was to present more than just Iran, because we've been so Iran heavy over the past week. I mean, justifiably so, but there are other things going on. I heard the Red Eye guys talking about this, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later on as well. The headline is, millions of students dropped out as higher ed shifts focus from degrees to DEI. Now, the reason why I'm so incredibly passionate about this is because I know so many people who have sent their kids off to college and they come back completely different people. Completely different people. And I've got some experience with this in my own family, my extended family. And so my friends, my family, guys my age, I'm 57. And so guys my age, we either have kids that have gone to college, we have friends whose kids have gone off to college and so forth. And this is not a shock to anyone. And so when you see a headline, millions of students dropping out as higher ed shifts focus from degrees to DEI, that means that if you spent thousands of dollars for your kid to go to school, to go to college, maybe a highfalutin college, your kid got screwed. And this is why Donald Trump has been out there saying, why would you send your kids to Harvard? And why exactly are we giving tax breaks to schools like Harvard and Columbia and so forth? And so we'll talk about that, because these numbers in this story is fascinating. We'll get through that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is a very busy morning. Also, by the way, Caroline Leavitt said something fascinating about Jasmine Crockett, and this was yesterday. We'll get into that as well. Again, a lot going on. Watch us on YouTube if you would. Listen to us anywhere and everywhere. It is 5:30 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It's 5:30. I'm Jay Harper. I've got your top stories. We'll also have a weather forecast and a traffic report coming up. More American military power is headed toward the Middle East as President Trump says he plans to make a decision about a possible military operation against Iran sometime within the next 2 weeks. ABC's Louis Martinez covers the Pentagon and tells the ABC podcast.
We've learned that a second aircraft carrier is making its way from the Western Pacific towards the Middle East. It'll join, this is the USS Nimitz strike group. It's going along with about 3 other destroyers. And it's going to join the USS Carl Vinson, which is currently stationed in the southern Arabian Sea, off the coast of Yemen, where it had been participating in those airstrikes against the Houthi militants.
And a third aircraft carrier strike group is set to leave Virginia soon. It could be in the Middle East here in about a week and a half. A new focus now on the engines on the Air India plane that crashed in India earlier this month, killing 270 people. ABC's Rhiannon Ally has more.
The airline's chairman says one of the engines on that plane was brand new, installed in March. The other wasn't due for service until December. Investigators are now looking for similarities between this crash and an incident 5 years ago in London when a plane's engines malfunctioned after leaving the ground. The cause of that incident was a contaminated fuel system.
An appeals court has now put a lower court's order on hold that would have returned control of the California National Guard troops deployed by President Trump to Governor Newsom. Details now from ABC's Lionel Moyes.
A federal appeals court has ruled that President Trump can retain control of the National Guard troops deployed to Los Angeles, at least for now. The 3-judge panel says the Trump administration presented enough evidence to show cause for the move, citing violent acts by protesters. A hearing is set for today in Governor Gavin Newsom's lawsuit challenging the federal deployment of the state's National Guard troops.
Let's take a look at stock futures now. Before the opening bell, the Dow down 108, the S&P down 16, the NASDAQ down 61. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. In the Metro Center area, that is indeed a crash that has the left 3 lanes blocked. 65 northbound just before exit 85. That's the Rosa Parks Boulevard exit. Some fog out there causing some problems. Also on the West Loop, we've got some road work. 40 westbound, that off-ramp to northbound 65 at exit 208. The off-ramp left lane blocked there due to some road work. And we've still got this crash in Antioch, Murfreesboro Pike at Nashboro Boulevard. At the top of the hour, I will have more details. There's going to be quite a few road closures around downtown Nashville. We'll tell you why at the top of the hour. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.537, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Over on YouTube, you know, Jay and KGB, YouTube has its own culture there within the chat. We've talked about this forever.
Yeah, right.
And one of the things they're talking about is what minimum wage was when they earned minimum wage. I'm sure you've worked for minimum wage, Jay.
Oh, yeah. You know, when I was a kid, started in radio in high school, I was making $2.35 an hour.
$2.35?
Yeah.
What year was that?
You were making bank.
Back in 1978.
Okay.
Yeah.
1978.
Yeah, I was, like say, in radio in high school. And, yeah, $2.35 was minimum wage. That's what I was getting.
I started working about 1984. Minimum wage was... it was $3.35.
Yeah.
I'm a little fuzzy on when I started working. I actually started working at the age of 13. You know what my first job was? My first job was I was a groundskeeper for a baseball stadium.
Oh, really?
A baseball field, Little League baseball field.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, they had like 3 or 4 fields, and they were all kind of around each other. And my boss was a guy named Ike. And
that's such a baseball field groundskeeper name.
Yeah, I mean, he was great.
Name.
And so my job was to rake the mound and do the chalk, you know, the baseline.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with that.
I was terrible. You know what? You know how many times I did that? Once.
Oh, and Ike was like, no.
And it
more.
was like, dude, he literally said to me, "Are you drunk?"
A 13-year-old asking, well, really?
Well, yeah, because, you know, you have to, I don't know if Jay, if you've ever had to do this. I know you spend a lot of time on baseball fields, but you put the little string down.
Yeah, you put the string down.
And then you've got the contraption, and you just try to go straight.
You just walk straight.
There are computerized gadgets now that will.
Boy, I sure needed those when I was 13.
That will do those. I've seen them. You know, I've covered a lot of soccer, and they will do the lines for soccer fields with these computerized gadgets that draw all that stuff. They just turn the thing loose, and it draws it out perfectly.
Well, I know that you folks will be shocked to hear, but when I was trying to lay down that straight line for the baseline on the baseball field, I kept leaning to the right.
But
No, I really did. I whatever. Anyway.
No, we got it.
Mike says $1.85 is what he made in 1974.
Wow.
4702, $3.35 an hour in 84. And by the way, I should mention that that was in California. So, and 2407 Jay wants to know 2407 was that $2.35 plus tips?
No, man. Radio?
What tips in radio?
Hey, you know what? I've got a tip. Don't get in radio.
Yeah, if money's your goal, yeah. Not. But I tell you, in high school, there was a time I was a bellhop at a Holiday Inn French Quarter.
Did you get to wear
down in New Orleans?
Silly bellhop hat?
No, nothing like that.
Oh, right.
But I made pretty good money on tips, though.
You know, when I was, I mean, I've spoken about this many times when I was a gas station attendant, you know, one of the last ever. A gas station attendant, full serve, you know, check the tires, all that stuff.
I think in Oregon they still do that because it's still in Oregon you can't pump your own gas.
Well, I know Jersey. I think Jersey's still that way.
Yeah, well, that's
New
crazy.
Jersey.
So if the radio thing doesn't work out for me, I can draw on my past experience and move to Oregon or New Jersey and become a.
Just looking at your resume, all right.
That's exactly
gas
right,
station
man.
attendant and then radio.
You know, get my little tire gauge and do the window washing and the whole thing. But I made $3.35, and I didn't get a lot of tips, but I think tipping wasn't as obnoxious as it is now.
No, yeah. Don't get me started.
Don't get me started, man.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of the flipping of the of the screen.
Turn that iPad around at you.
Well,
at the convenience store, you did nothing.
Yeah.
What do you want a tip for?
Especially when it comes to like the Instacarts and Uber Eats and stuff like that. If you don't tip well enough, they'll get all mad at you and like confront you. Have you seen those videos?
No, they confront you. Are you
Oh,
kidding?
Yeah. They'll like keep your food if they don't like the tip.
You know what? Here's the thing.
Yeah, or spit in it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I go to Starbucks every day, and I know it's commie coffee. Don't get me started.
Commie coffee.
But I go to Starbucks every day. I will give them a tip because, they're taking my order, and then they will, heat up my little pastry thing, and I sit and I eat my food and I drink my commie coffee. But I walk in, they know my name, and I go there literally every day after the show. That is what I do to chillax. So I'll give them $1. But if it's a place where I've never gone before and they don't do anything, I'm hard pressed to give them a tip.
All right, so question. When you go and like pick up dinner at a restaurant, do you leave a tip when you go pick up food? Because they ask about that.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I am a very generous tipper, right? So Amy and I we haven't had an argument about it, but we've had words about it because
A debate,
thank you, where I will give people tips just because I appreciate that they're actually working.
Yeah.
Because y'all know that there's a lot of folks that refuse to work. So I'm just appreciative that people come to work. There's a reason why, literally, Jay, that I say every time you work, thank you for showing up.
That's true.
You know
do
what I mean?
That.
So,
yes, you do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say though, when it comes to like picking up food, I'm getting it myself. I'm not gonna tip just because I'm just grabbing the food.
Well,
if they're delivering it to me, I will give them a tip, of course, or they're like my waitress or waiter. I always give 20%. Like that's just how I was like, that's the proper thing to do. But when it comes to picking up food, I feel like it's like you just moved your arms from your from your chest outwards.
Right.
And I don't think that's worth a tip.
People say, Monica says, and another person says, 9009, if I stand up to place an order, no tip. Okay, I get that.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, if you walk into, I will tell you, I have not walked into like a McDonald's or I couldn't tell you the last time I walked into a place like that. But do they demand tips at like McDonald's?
No.
Okay.
Not at fast food places or drive-through at least.
They don't do it yet.
Yeah. Well, when I do, I do carry out for pizza just because it's so much cheaper.
Right.
And I will tip those folks.
Right.
Because they're making a pizza.
Yeah, and they don't make hardly anything anyway. The way I am, if people are friendly, I've had kind of lousy service at restaurants, but if they go out of their way and they're nice and they're friendly, I will tip them for that.
Well, in my
rather than having an attitude.
In my pizza place, I'm very particular about my pizza. So I like my pizza cooked just a very certain way.
Picky pizza.
Okay, what's your order?
I like it cooked an extra like 5 minutes. I like my pizza crispy.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So like kind of fries, some people like them well done fries.
Yeah, I like my pizza well done, and I also like my pizza not picked at by Joe & Jones.
Man, you're still holding that.
Going back, that's a whole thing. Going back to yesterday's show.
It's been a week, and you're still holding on.
No, it's a couple of days ago. But whatever. You're right. As a joke, we love Joan. So, but anyway, that's me, and I'm just appreciative that people work. And so my pizza place, I think I almost tip everywhere. I like to sound like a hard ass when it comes to tipping, but the reality is that I give people tips.
Fair enough.
I just do.
I forgot, Subway does do the tips. I guess because they're making the food for you, like you're actually seeing the person make the food, so I guess that's different.
Do you know how many times I wanted to jump over the counter and make my own food at Subway? Because it's like, no, I want like... I kid you not, I've done this. I've said, can I get like 8 more olives? Not 7, not 9. I want 8 more olives.
I want you to count, lady.
Yeah, well, they have. I mean, they see me coming a mile away.
God, here's that Mandus guy coming.
God. Lock the door. Oh, he's already in.
Yeah, people. You know what's so funny? If I wanted to, this is a cheap talk radio trick. Hey, it's Friday. Let's take your calls on tipping. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that, but everybody has an opinion on tipping.
Yeah.
Everybody, and there's different types of. Cameron Smith actually wrote a great opinion piece for the Tennessean on tipping. If you ever read Cameron, it's a really good piece because it goes through all of the different types of service, right? So you go in, you order the food, you step aside, you wait for the food to be delivered to you in a bag or a box, and off you go. As opposed to order the food, then you sit down, and then they come deliver your food. There's all kinds of different types of service, and he just lays it all out. And by the way, I disagreed with him on some things, and I didn't really care, whatever. But whole point is that it's a very personal thing. And, I choose to tip at Starbucks because I go there every day and I appreciate their service because it is very good service. And never once have they tried to preach at me about anything politically.
Well, let me ask you a question. Because you go there consistently, do you feel like you need to tip because they'll think of you like maybe they'll judge you a little bit since you consistently go and not give a tip? Do you think that's a mindset there?
I am a radio talk show host. I don't mind being judged.
You
know what I mean?
Fair point.
Yeah,
well,
fair
I mean,
point.
it's always different when it comes to people that handle your food or beverages.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's like when you talk to about people you don't want to piss off, that's like the number one person you don't want to piss off is someone that handles your food.
Do you know, Nick says an interesting thing. Does anyone tip the mailman like back in the day?
Wasn't it like a Christmas thing? Like during Christmas time you would?
We have not tipped the mailman. I think we did something nice for Riker's bus driver.
Yeah.
I think we did something nice for the bus driver because she was awesome. Like Riker's bus driver was incredible. And Amy asked me if I wanted to do anything, and she's usually the one in charge of this kind of stuff. But I said, absolutely. She's very cool. And she's been driving him for like 5 years or something like that. So, or however long he's been taking the bus. So, but, you've got your school bus drivers, you've got the mailman. I will admit, you've got garbage men. Mm-hmm. Right? Like we've got every morning we get a hello from the fine garbage collectors at
I saw that. What is it? Holloway
Services.
Yeah, Holloway Services, truck number 623.
Hey, Holloway Services, if you're still listening, do people tip you guys? Like, are you supposed to tip and do you not like being called garbage? Is it insulting to call a trash truck person a garbage person? I don't know. What do you call a
garbage non-binary?
Okay,
that's the proper way.
We have tipped our movers,
garbage homo sapien.
Guys that packed up and loaded us on the moving van people. We've tipped them.
Yeah.
Again, they're handling your stuff though. That's I think that's my thing when it comes to tipping. Like if you don't. Like sometimes, like again, when you don't want to tick off people that are in charge that have your food or your stuff, something you hold value in the palm of their hands like that. You gotta be very careful.
Well, the other thing they do, and I've talked about this before, and then we'll move on. But one of the things that I like, and Starbucks is actually making an effort. I read all this. Starbucks is making an effort to step up their service because they did get really political. And they realized that they probably, some of the things that went on with Starbucks, and I don't want to get into it, but it was misconstrued, things that were said on calls and so forth. There were some individual stores in big blue cities that were taking the opportunity to talk about Black Lives Matter and that kind of stuff. Starbucks put a stop to it. And my experience has been nothing but positive with Starbucks, and I'm getting all kinds
the text line is going off about the garbage thing. Sanitation worker, sanitation engineer, and someone says, I've been a garbologist for 35 years.
I love it, a garbologist. Yeah, see, I shouldn't...
17, or hold on, who was it? 0409, brilliant.
What did he say?
No, that was the garbologist.
Oh, garbologist,
I just want to give him his credit.
Yeah, sanitation workers.
Yeah.
So I guess garbage man.
Garbologist is what I'm going to use now.
Garbologist?
That's
okay.
a good one.
All right. You guys, but do you tip your garbologist?
I mean, I don't see him. I'm in my apartment, we just do trash valet.
You know what? We owe in my house. This is what Amy and I, this is an actual discussion with my wife and I yesterday as we're getting ready to, we're going somewhere. And this morning is trash day. I actually owe an apology to our garbologists. So yours truly did something incredibly stupid. I know you're shocked. Do you know what I did, Jay?
Wouldn't surprise me, Dan. Go ahead.
What'd you do?
I threw chicken away last Saturday. I threw chicken away. Now, 6 days, chicken has been rotting in my garbage can.
Oh, that's just terrible timing.
And so I went to go take out the trash, and it was like, Amityville Horror. Remember, with all of those flies in the window? That's what Amy, what the hell were you thinking? I said, I don't know. It just happened. And so, because I was just trying to get rid of stuff in the fridge. You know what I mean? And so
Clean out.
It was a clean out, yeah, because, and I threw it not even thinking. So my trash can. So we do owe a big tip to our garbologists because they'll be picking up our trash today, and it smells awful.
Just here in the background. What the?
It's exactly right.
Oh God, it smells like death.
That is. It smells like what?
Death.
Jeff.
Death.
What?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Deaf. DEAF.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah, apparently.
Jay, you weren't here yesterday when I went to traffic not once but twice in a 2-minute period. I was talking to Joan yesterday on the phone after the show yesterday. You know what I did? I accidentally called my current wife by the name of my ex-wife.
No, you didn't.
I did. Do you know what? I don't know why I'm doing that. I've done that a couple of different times in the past month.
How's the couch been? How'd you been sleeping on the couch
Oh, my
for?
goodness. I don't know what is going on with my brain. It's like I'm Joe Biden or something.
I was about to say, it's creeping up.
You know, the funny thing is, I have not done that. Amy and I have been actually together for 7.5 years. I had never done that. Not once. And then all of a sudden, over the last 3 months, I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah, it's weird how our brains work, man.
Thankfully, though, my wife is so cool, she doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she says anyway.
Yeah,
Jay, what's coming up at 6?
Yes, we've got more on possible military action against Iran. What is the president thinking? We'll also hear from Elon Musk. You know, his little rocket thing didn't go well there in Texas. And we'll have some road closure information that will be of interest to folks here in Nashville. That's coming up at the top of the hour.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Okay, everybody knows that there is a big divide, a mega divide, over what we should do with Iran. And Harry Enton from CNN has a message.
And when you go against Donald Trump, you go down.
That is Harry Enton. What does it mean by that? Oh, I've got a great story for you coming up next. It is 6 o'clock, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. Yes, it is 6 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We'll have a traffic report and the hottest weather of the year coming up this weekend. We'll have that forecast. President Trump now says he will make a decision about possible military action against Iran sometime in the next couple of weeks. Meanwhile, the U.S. military is moving more people and hardware into the area. One aircraft carrier strike group's already there. Another's heading to the Middle East from the Pacific. And ABC's Luis Martinez, who covers the Pentagon, tells the ABC podcast Start Here that a third carrier group will be leaving Virginia and should be there in about a week and a half.
Essentially, you're having now a really large military presence. Remember, there's already 40,000 U.S. military personnel in the Middle East. And by adding 2 aircraft carriers, that's another 10,000 more.
Company boss Elon Musk calls the event just a scratch, but a day after a massive explosion during the testing of a rocket in South Texas, SpaceX still searching for answers as to what happened. ABC's Jim Ryan, he's in Texas.
As dramatic as the event was, people who live near the SpaceX facility are getting used to it.
I looked over and there was a mushroom cloud in the air and the whole sky was orange.
The testing and launch facility is in the middle of a sensitive animal habitat, and Jim Chapman of Friends of the Wildlife Corridor says,
I'm very fearful for what the impact on that surrounding refuge land was.
A statement from SpaceX says the company is working with officials on matters concerning environmental and safety impacts.
Here in Nashville, the Tennessee Department of Transportation, they're going to be conducting a full road closure in Davidson County on I-24 from 65 to 40, also known as the Downtown East Loop. And for those of you that are new to the area, that's over by Nissan Stadium. Crews with the construction company, they're going to conduct a full road closure on 24 eastbound from the 65 split to the 40 merge starting tonight at 8 o'clock. And it'll go till 5 a.m. Monday. The work is needed to resurface I-24 and repair some bridge expansion joints. I think folks that hit those potholes will appreciate this. Traffic will be detoured to the West Loop. There will also be some lane closures on I-40 near the airport this weekend, so heads up. We now turn to the market numbers report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. You can find them online at beaconcm.com.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. After little movement Thursday, stocks were poised to end the week on the downside, with futures overnight pointing to a lower open. The Dow Jones fell 44 points yesterday to close at 42,172. The S&P slipped a fraction. The Nasdaq gained 0.1%. Asian shares edged up overnight as fears of an impending U.S. attack on Iran are eased. The White House is expected to decide in the next 2 weeks whether the U.S. will get involved in the Middle East conflict. Canada's Prime Minister is floating the possibility of new tariffs on American steel and aluminum if the two countries can't reach a trade deal in the next 30 days. Earlier this month, President Trump hiked U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50%. Some ready-to-eat chicken fettuccine Alfredo meals sold at Kroger and Walmart are being voluntarily recalled after a nationwide listeria outbreak. The Home Chef pasta products have been linked to 17 illnesses, 3 deaths, and a miscarriage. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Well, at 5 minutes past 6 a.m., traffic still relatively light in the metro, but we've got a couple of issues. The left 3 lanes remain blocked, 65 northbound before Rosa Parks Boulevard, and we've got some road work going on. The off-ramp left lane blocked, 40 westbound, the off-ramp to 65 north. That's exit 208. Again, some road work there. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The MAGA divide coming right up.
And when you go against Donald Trump, you go down.
But first, Jay, I don't know if you have been seeing this. Maybe you've been reporting it and I just missed it. But did you see that Nashville was shut down last night by a bunch of rabid soccer fans?
Yeah, this rally took over Broadway, Lower Broad, last night. I was literally just preparing that story to have at the bottom of the hour. But yeah, they're like 400 or 500 folks marching down Broadway, and
2 were arrested.
Yeah, a couple of folks arrested.
Here's this part of the story that I have. It was like last night, about 10:30, 11 o'clock, whatever. Football fans, which is soccer, in Music City to watch the
FIFA.
Is it FIFA?
Yeah.
The FIFA Club World Cup match at Geodis Park Friday night. That's tonight, featuring LAFC versus Esperance Sportiva de Tunisi. It's apparently a soccer club. Around 10:30, a group of 400 to 500 people marched down Broadway, stopping at the flagpoles at the end of the roadway at the Cumberland River and shut down the roadway without permission and ignored police officers and cops their demand to divert to 2nd Avenue towards Commerce Street, according to Metro Police. According to court documents, 43-year-old Moise Hammi, Hammi, shot off fireworks into the large crowd. Officers noted the smoke placed the crowd in imminent danger and serious bodily injury. You know the thing, if you fire fireworks into a crowd, that can cause a stampede and literally kill people.
People think it's gunshots.
This guy was booked into the Metro jail. He was charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon and felony aggravated riot. His bond was set at $10,000. That doesn't seem like a whole lot for shooting fire into a crowd.
Yeah, well, there's another fellas, I'm sure you'll get into it, that was also charged with that. His bond at $16,000.
Mohammed Bakouche also set off fireworks. He's 25 years old into the crowd. When officers went to detain him, Bakouche reportedly shoved an officer and ran away. Police had to perform a controlled takedown to take Bakouche into custody, according to court. Are these local people? I don't think so.
I doubt it.
So you've got all of these people coming into our city, no permit. By the way, this whole thing was organized on social media. So you got all these people that come into our city and decide on social media that they're going to shut down our town. And you've only got, now remember, 500 people shut down our city. Only 2 arrested. This is the stuff that drives me nuts. I'm a kind of a hardliner on these things, but it's like, guys, if you've got 500 people that refuse to disperse and are, acting collectively as fools and are shutting down the roadway, and this was all planned on social media, you've got the social media accounts, you've seen them in action, you've got all of this video. A lot of these folks ought to be in jail. And I know that I'm a hardliner on this stuff, but I got to tell you, it really frustrates me. The march, again, was reportedly organized by soccer fans on social media. No additional information was immediately released.
Well, this soccer match tonight, you have to be concerned about what the heck is going to transpire at that thing. I mean, we see soccer matches overseas.
These people are insane.
That erupt into literal riots where dozens of people get trampled to death. And I would have to be concerned if I'm Geodis Park tonight. What the heck's going to transpire there?
And who's playing? Is it F?
LA, the LAFC.
Yeah, the LA.
LA, is that the
club.
Los Angeles?
Yeah, so there's
so.
two LA teams. There's the LA Galaxy and there's LAFC.
FC stands for?
Football Club.
There you go.
Foot cuddling.
Anyway, so yeah, I just, if we end up having a bunch of riots here because of this, I think we need to seriously take a look at whether or not we want to have these kinds of matches in our city. I sound so old. I know I'm screaming at the clouds, whatever, but it's just, come on, man. You don't let a bunch of people come into our town and then via social media have an organized shutdown of our city.
Yeah,
I mean, why do we allow this? Oh, I know, because Nashville is run by Democrats. Whatever. All right, but glad nobody was hurt, and hopefully the police will go out and get these folks that have been doing all of this. Now, moving right along.
Will we hear from Freddie O'Connell on this?
No.
But if it were some MAGA folks marching down the street with
Trump, are you kidding?
With Trump flags. Oh,
well, yeah, but here's the thing. Trump supporters wouldn't be going out there and shutting down roadways.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct.
We haven't done that. The Trump supporters haven't shut down roadways, have they? And don't get me started on January 6th. I don't want to go down there. But like your average town, I don't think we've ever done anything like that, have we?
No.
Trump supporters?
I mean, they'll stand on the sidewalk and wave the flag and
and wave a few other things too if Joe Biden is driving by. But other than that,
yeah, but he wouldn't know.
No, he wouldn't know. All right, well, thank you, Jay. Yeah, and here's the deal: if conservatives have shut down roadways and I just completely missed it, well, then let me know. Just Dan me on the super text line because that happens almost daily on this radio show. 1701, soccer bad, racing good. Okay. Are you a soccer fan, Jay? I know you're into sports.
I've had to call a lot of soccer, but I still don't care for it. It just, I can't get into it.
It's kind of boring. I would find soccer boring. KGB, you're a sports fan. Are you into soccer, real quick?
Not really, no. But watching like the World Cup and stuff is always an exciting time because it's really hard to compare that to other sports, that World Cup, because it's something else.
Yeah.
When Argentina won it last time, they literally had millions of people on the freeway, just on the actual
in Argentina.
Yeah, but so imagine the entire millions of people on 65 or 40. That's what was going on when they won the cup.
All right. Well, we'll see. And that game is tonight. That match is tonight. So I'm going
That's
to be.
That's the club World Cup. That's not the FIFA.
Whatever.
That's the club and actual World Cup.
My caring of soccer is not there. FIFA, FOFA. Who FIFA cares? Hey, it's 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Yeah.
All right, very good. 6:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather goes, Friday, high of 90, partly cloudy. Saturday, high of 94, mostly sunny. And on Sunday, high of 95, isolated thunderstorms as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. Okay, so I want to get into the battle between, you've got Donald Trump versus Tucker Carlson versus Ted Cruz, and Elon Musk versus Donald Trump. And I had this whole thing yesterday because I'm getting tired of, one group of conservatives calling the other group of conservatives neocons and rhinos and all. I'm so tired of it. The other side, the Democrats are the ones that are supposed to behave like children, not us, right? So I did the whole thing yesterday. because I get tired of the Republican slurs, and I believe that neocon and rhino and all that stuff, it is a slur. It's name calling. And I mean, I know that I've engaged in it, by the way, a time or two, although I try not to. I need to try harder. But if you're a Republican and you turn on President Trump like Tucker Carlson has on this issues, well, you have Harry Enton over there on CNN, and he looked at instances where Republicans have turned on Donald Trump. And how did they fare in the polling? Because you've got the instances of Mike Pence, Elon Musk, and now Tucker Carlson. First, Mike Pence over the 2020 election.
Pre-fight, Mike Pence, very well beloved by Republicans, an 84% favorable rating. Look at where he is now, 36%. When you go against Donald Trump and you're Republican, you go down.
So, and by the way, Harry Enton in his usual flair. Mike Pence, before the big Trump fight over the election in 2020, 84% within the Republican Party. He was, he says, beloved at 84% among Republicans. Post-fight, he turns on Donald Trump, 36%. How about Elon Musk?
Remember, he was beloved by Republicans. He had a 78% favorable rating with Republicans. But then he fought Donald Trump, and what happened? He went down. The bottom line is this. Donald Trump's favorable rating stayed steady or actually even went up when he won these battles against Mike Pence or Elon Musk. But if you go up against Donald Trump and you're Republican or Republican affiliated, your favorable ratings with Republicans, they go down, traditionally speaking.
I need Harry Enton's energy in the morning. So basically he's saying that Elon Musk pre-fight, 78% approval rating amongst Republicans. Post-fight, down, as Harry says, to 62%. Right now, Donald Trump's favorability among Republicans stands at 88%. And so right now, everybody is talking about what's going on between Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump. Right now, Tucker, very vocal in his disagreement with Donald Trump over his handling of Iran. Tucker is at 64%. You've got Tulsi Gabbard, who has not been as public against Donald Trump, but she is still, I believe, in disagreement with Donald Trump over Iran. She is at 55%.
This is Donald Trump's Republican Party, not Tucker Carlson's, not Tulsi Gabbard's. Republicans, traditionally speaking, go along with Donald Trump. And as we saw in that last slide, when you go against Donald Trump, you go down while Donald Trump stays quite high.
And so where are people at on Donald Trump's big decision, and that is what to do with Iran? Listen to this, Harry Enton, CNN.
The clear majority of Republicans in any poll that you look, GOP on U.S. airstrikes against Iran, if Iran's pursuing nuclear arms, you see it here. The Republican Party, again, is with Donald Trump, 69% in this particular poll from the Chicago Council that was taken a few months ago, compared to 27% who are opposed. But again, even if you look at the other polling data, it all points in the same direction. Republicans are with Donald Trump on this particular issue, and they're with Donald Trump at large. And when you go against Donald Trump, you go down.
There you go, Harry Enton. It is interesting, too, because the polling has been all over the place on Iran. I mean, just be honest. I mean, Donald Trump hasn't done anything yet. Really, has he? He's had a lot of things to say, but he hasn't actually done anything. But one consistent has been that people don't want to be involved in a military strike. But they also agree that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So I'm going to interpret all of this as, well, as a party, in looking at the numbers, as a party, by and large, we do trust Donald Trump to do the right thing. Now, remember, the world is watching. If Donald Trump shows weakness here, China and Russia clearly will take note. And also remember this. As conservatives, what have we been saying for, years now? We've been saying for years that it was the failed pullout of Afghanistan that emboldened Vladimir Putin to go into Ukraine, because everyone saw that Joe Biden was weak. Now, I don't believe that Donald Trump is weak, not by any stretch of the imagination, now that he has supposedly postponed this decision with Iran another couple of weeks. I don't believe that's a sign of weakness. I believe that is a sign of caution. I don't believe that that is necessarily a good thing. I mentioned it earlier on WTN here in the 5 o'clock hour. Some of you were angry at Donald Trump's decision to, postpone any kind of a decision for, the next couple of weeks. And you know that Donald Trump changes his mind at a moment's notice. But I think that by and large, people do trust Donald Trump. And by the way, 2 weeks with Israel's incessant bombing, my question would be, is there going to be anything left of Iran over the next couple of weeks as Israel continues to engage in this bombing campaign? We'll see how the whole thing plays out. It is 6:21, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. But as Harry Enton says, the big divide in MAGA within the Republican Party, you go against Donald Trump, whether it is Mike Pence, Tucker Carlson, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, you see your approval ratings going down. And Donald Trump's within the Republican Party remain high as ever. 6:22, and you've got Jay Harper in the WTN newsroom in for Joan. Jay, what's coming up?
Yeah, Dan, look out for the hottest weekend of the year. We'll have a story on that and also more on that SpaceX rocket explosion. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$622, by the way, Jay and Jeff, there is a coordinated effort. I'm not going to talk about it right now. There is a coordinated effort going on right now on the super text line to manipulate your humble host. I'm going to talk about that straight ahead. 623 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. I've been talking about my upstairs bathtub, and it has actual holes in it. It's really ugly, and it does need a lot of work. Now, my friends at Zintex, they can help me out. They're going to help you out as well. If you've got a bathtub that needs some work, they've been in business since 2001, and they are here to help you. Whether you need to fix your bathtub or you need to convert your bathtub into a walk-in shower, they do amazing work at Zintex. So they can remodel your shower, they can remodel or fix your bathtub or shower, they can even convert your bathtub into a walk-in shower. Now, these types of home improvements, as you know, can increase the value of your home, and Zintex can have it wrapped up in a day. Now, Zintex is an award-winning company that offers limited lifetime warranties for both of their products, all of their products, and their installation. Now, you can make your bathroom safer with a walk-in shower complete with grab bars and a bench seat for the older folks in your life who do need that assist and support. So, fix, remodel, or convert your tub into a shower today with Zintex. That phone number, 629-258-7747. 629-258-7747. Great deal going on right now at Zintex. You mentioned my name, WTN. You get $1,750 off or no interest for 24 months, whichever works best for you. And also, payments, you have none for 2 years going through Zintex when you mention my name. Find them online, Zintex, Zintex.com. Dan Mandis here for Clayton Homes. Listen, at Clayton Homes, they are in the middle of a big, huge home sales event that is going on right now. You can save up to $5,000 instantly on your home purchase as Clayton Homes Sign and Save sales event does continue. Now, you can also save up to $2,500 on a single section home or, again, $5,000 on a multi-section home. Now, with Clayton Homes, they are changing the way homes are built here in America and Tennessee. These are affordable homes. They do cost less to live in. Just in time for summer, get a home equipped with Energy Smart features for year-round comfort and a lifetime of savings. Now, with Clayton Homes, they feature luxury, quality, and the style you deserve. So don't forget that great deal. It is going on right now. Save $5,000 on your next home purchase with Clayton Homes and their Sign and Save sales event. You can also save $2,500 on a single-section home again, or again, that $5,000 on a multi-section home. Find them online, manufacturedhomeoffers.com. That's manufacturedhomeoffers.com. You can browse their limited time deals, again, at that website. Terms and conditions for the Sign and Save sales event at manufacturedhomeoffers.com. That's manufacturedhomeoffers.com. Available only at participating Clayton Homes family of brands retailers through August 31st. Amount of savings may be limited. As for details, may not be available with certain financing lender restrictions apply. $628. All right, 629, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I got a lot going on here. So coming up in the next hour, I should say in the next 30 minutes at about 6:36, what is Donald Trump afraid of? What is Donald Trump's greatest fear related to going all in on Iran? So that story is coming up. Also, is Jasmine Crockett a rising star in the Republican Party? That story for you as well, and a whole lot more straight ahead. Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It is 6:30. I'm Jay Harper in for Joan Jones. She will return on Tuesday. I've got your top stories, a weather forecast, and a traffic report are coming up. Now, Dan spoke of this earlier, but for those of you that may just be joining us, at least 2 men were arrested after a soccer rally took over downtown Nashville last night down on Lower Broad. Soccer fans, they're in Music City to watch the FIFA Club World Cup match. It's going to be at Geoda's Park tonight. Well, last night, about 10:30, a group of between 400 to 500 people marched down Broadway and stopped at the flagpoles at the end of the roadway there at the Cumberland River. And the crowd, they shut down the roadway. They had no permits, no permission, and they ignored officers' demands to divert to 2nd Avenue toward Commerce Street. 2 people were arrested for discharging fireworks into the crowd. The clock is now ticking on President Trump's self-imposed 2-week deadline to make a decision on whether to launch an American attack on Iran's nuclear program. Part of that could include using so-called bunker buster bombs to reach the nuclear enrichment plant, which is buried deep underground. But ABC's Louis Martinez, who covers the Pentagon, tells the ABC podcast Start Here that these bombs are really untested in live battle.
The question is, how deep are the facilities at Fordo? Because there's some thinking that potentially while they have been tested, they may not go deep enough. And then the question becomes, we know it's not going to be one bomb. It's going to have to be multiples. It may be a series of bombs that are dropped on this facility. The real question is, will they be able to go deep enough and destroy this facility? And that's an unknown.
Sunday's scheduled launch of a rocket carrying 4 private astronauts to the International Space Station has been delayed again. Axiom, the company behind the mission, says it needs more time to evaluate recent repair work to the space station. No new launch date has been set.
This is Jim Ryan. Axiom says its decision to scrub its AX-4 mission has nothing to do with Wednesday's massive explosion at rival SpaceX on the South Texas coast. Witnesses are still reliving that one.
It's definitely something I will never forget.
I was laying down and I heard the whole garage door move.
SpaceX says the blast was the result of a, quote, sudden energetic event, presumably a spark during the fueling of a rocket for testing. No one was hurt.
Well, today is the first day of summer, and our first big heat wave is set to arrive this weekend here in Middle Tennessee, and it's going to stick around through a good part of next week. High temperatures are expected to be in the mid-90s, with heat indices at 100 or higher. Next Monday through Wednesday looks to be the 3 hottest days of the week. The heat index values as high as 105. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. 6:33 on Nashville's Morning News. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee, especially as it gets hotter, it can get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter. Of course, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. You can get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. The Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation, 24-hour monitoring as well. They're not going to leave you in the dark. If the power goes out in your neighborhood, well, guess what? If you've got one of these terrific backup home standby generators from the Generator Supercenter, the power and the lights in your home will be on. Again, financing is always available. 615-879-1952 for the Generator Supercenter. 615-879-1952. The website, tell them Dan told you to reach out, generatorsupercenterofnashville.com. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at Renstall. Listen, if you've got a European car, Renstall is the place in Nashville to get it serviced or repaired. Now, this is a great company, family-owned company, a bunch of local folks here, and their main goal is customer service. Now, at Renstall, they offer the best technicians, the latest and greatest diagnostic equipment. They are dedicated to customer service. People are listening, by the way, to my ads. They're going to Renstall. They're coming back to me saying, Dan, thank you for recommending Renstall. So if you own any European car, If you've got like a BMW, an Audi, Mercedes, Porsche, maybe something not so highfalutin, Renstall can service it. Renstall can repair it as well. Again, these are locally owned and operated, and exclusively they work on all European vehicles. I've been telling you, raving about their Heroes Service discount at Renstall. Veterans, active duty military, first responders, and emergency medical personnel all get a 10% discount on all repairs. They also have a terrific coffee bar at the garage, and they also offer complimentary shuttle service and free Uber rides as well in case you can't hang around. They also feature immediate appointments and a quick turnaround as well. So check them out. Renstall, the website, it's a great one. itrustmymechanic.com. They have service appointments available right now, 615-777-7100, 615-777-7100. Again, that website, tell them Dan told you to reach out, itrustmymechanic.com.
Actually, traffic looking pretty good around the metro here this morning. We do have an injury crash to report, Franklin Road at Old Hickory Boulevard. Also, parts of the city, looking at traffic cameras, we've got some fog in the area, in particular 65 at the 24th junction north of the city there near Trinity Lane. Traffic is kind of at a standstill there at the junction. It's foggy as all get out. Other parts of the city moving fairly well traffic-wise. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.638 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, by the way, coming up at about 7:36 or so, Stephen Bucci from the Heritage Foundation going to be here to talk about all things Iran. Real quickly, I do have a great story about why Donald Trump may be fearful of going into Iran. Also, there's some host manipulation that is happening right now on the super text line. 615-737-9986. So I've had a couple of people text in telling me, courtesy of Super Talk TV, that there's a booger on the microphone. Now, if you have no idea, so they've made me look like twice now. And so remember in high school and really junior high and like fifth grade, when people would try to make you look and I made you look, that's what people are doing, courtesy of the super text line at 615-737-9986.
Yeah, I saw that on the text line, and I looked at my mic like, okay.
Yeah, we had an unfortunate, which we're not going to get into. Mm-hmm. We had an unfortunate incident earlier this week that, again, we're not going to get into. But this is what I love about the people that listen to WTN. Is we are all a family, and we all like to just have a lot of fun with all of the craziness that is going on. Sometimes the hilarity is very much appreciated, and thank you for the jokes on the super text line regarding the unfortunate incident from earlier this week. Moving right along. So we all know that there was a big announcement yesterday from the Trump administration. By the way, Donald Trump, we are monitoring Truth Social. He has not posted this morning, but this was the big announcement yesterday.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
So that is the big announcement from yesterday. So now, and I don't know if you've seen this, but Iran is now acting a bit more arrogantly and seems like they're actually trying to troll Donald Trump, making Donald Trump look weak. Have you seen this? Iran has been boasting now that all of its nuclear material has been moved to a safe place before Israel struck their military sites. And they always say this, by the way, but you know, when they do these kinds of things, when they start trolling Donald Trump after he says, we're going to give this 2 weeks, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to negotiate some kind of a settlement, and then Iran comes back and disrespects our president, it makes me want Trump to bomb the living crap out of them. I don't want Trump to do that, but that's how it makes me feel emotionally. So I do like that Donald Trump is taking a step back and saying, okay, we are going to give this one more chance. And, you know, let's be honest. I mean, the president, he has had some hardcore rhetoric and threats against Iran. He's been ratcheting it up. Evacuate Tehran from earlier this week, evacuate Tehran, demanding their complete surrender and saying to its leadership, we'll let you live for now, but we know where you are. They also have a ton of warplanes and ships in the region. The bunker-busting plane can be there very quickly. And by the way, Iran has also come out and they have said that they will not negotiate with Donald Trump because he is in bed with their archenemy, Israel. Britain has come out now and said that they would take part in peace talks with Iran. So with all of that, the Daily Mail has this story courtesy of the New York Post. Donald Trump's indecision on Iran due to primal fear about Libya. Hey, KGB, can we change the poll just real quick? Right now, the current poll, watch us on YouTube, like and subscribe. The current poll is, should we raise the minimum wage federally to $15 an hour? That is in the news today. And I think resoundingly, the first hour and 45 minutes of the radio broadcast this morning, the WTN audience has been, no, we should not raise the minimum wage federally to $15 an hour, as Josh Hawley is recommending. Donald Trump said, yeah, I don't know if we want to do that. And Hawley, of course, and President Trump, they've been friends and allies for a long time. And so President Trump basically, he said, it doesn't sound like the president wants to raise that minimum wage. So let's go ahead and change it now. Do you agree with Donald Trump's decision to postpone any military action for 2 weeks? I think that's what the president is doing. Now, and so go like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and take the Daily Dan poll. Trump's indecision on Iran due to primal fear about another Libya. See, I appreciate the president's caution here. I really do, because this could escalate into World War III. Now, you have a lot of people saying that the president is, has a weak spine. The president is losing his testicular fortitude and all this. You want to be as cautious as you possibly can. Oh, and by the way, how do you know that this isn't just a head fake by Donald Trump? I want you to think about that. This could actually be a head fake by the president. But anyway, here's what they say. President Trump gave Iran a 2-week grace period to negotiate a nuclear pact over fears of repeating the chaos that took place in Libya and the devastating aftermath of Iraq and Afghanistan. Donald Trump is confident he can still secure a diplomatic outcome amid the escalating war between Israel and Iran, despite threats this week that he would drag the U.S. into another crisis in the Middle East. The insiders telling the New York Post, Donald Trump wants a deal. He'd rather have a deal than wade into yet another Middle East conflict. I love the president's caution. I've got a little bit more on this. It's at 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. .46, it's going to be the first weekend of summer, and it's going to feel like it. Weather today, a high of 90 and partly cloudy, and Saturday, high of 94, mostly sunny, and on Sunday, a high of 95 and isolated thunderstorms. I hate to do this, KGB, if you could, or maybe Jay knows, but these are the official highs. I wonder what the feels like is going to be this weekend. Because
they are claiming it will be around 105.
105? On which day?
Yeah, the heat index at 105.
Which day? Saturday and Sunday or both?
Early next week.
Oh, early next week?
Monday through Wednesday.
Okay, can you see if you can find out what the feels like is going to be for the weekend?
I can do that, Dan.
Yeah, just not right now. Just find it and tell me.
Yeah.
All right. Donald Trump fears another Libya, they say, referring to the North African nation's descent into anarchy and chaos after longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi was toppled in 2011 during the Obama administration. At the time, the West hoped that Gaddafi's death would pave the way for democracy. How many times have we heard this? But instead, the region was overrun with warlords and religious extremists. We all know what happened with Libya. The deaths of a U.S. ambassador and several Americans at the embassy in Benghazi. They plagued former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for years. It actually still does. They say there are two reasons Trump talks about Libya. The first is the chaos after what we did to Gaddafi, a source telling the New York Post. The second is the Libya intervention made it more difficult to negotiate deals with countries like North Korea and Iran. And on it goes. Experts warning that any effort to overthrow the Iranian regime led by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei would further destabilize the region and risks fueling radicalization. I mean, so yeah, I get that there's some people like Lindsey Graham out there with all of his, military-industrial complex donors. They want Donald Trump to just go right in, and then all of a sudden Iran is going to, turn to democracy. It's not the way that it's going to work. I'm here to tell you. So I do appreciate that the president is taking a couple of weeks to, figure out exactly what he wants to do, because this is clearly a big decision. And so we have Vladimir Putin. I mentioned this in the 5 o'clock hour. Vladimir Putin is now warning Donald Trump that using that bunker buster to get to that underground nuclear facility would, they say, be catastrophic, according to Vladimir Putin. Those bunker busters, by the way, they're not nuclear in nature, but they can be equipped with nuclear capabilities to reach that depth. The Kremlin says that bombing this facility could spark a wider conflict across the Middle East. And so there's just, right now, I think the president is just taking a step back. We'll see where this whole thing goes. By the way, they're talking to, and I was playing audio earlier from Caroline Leavitt and the White House press briefing yesterday. One of the questions that was asked, and I actually covered this extensively yesterday, and I'll ask Stephen Bucci more about this at 7:36 this morning. But one of the questions that was asked was, okay, so is America ready for a response from Iran? Because remember, we've got two main threats, right? We've got cyber attacks and sleeper cells in this country poised to strike at any moment. Yesterday, Iran-backed militias have said that they will join the fight. That's the terror cells, right? The sleeper cells, the terrorist organizations. So those are the two big threats, and these are big threats: cyber warfare and sleeper cells. And so the question was asked of Caroline Leavitt, okay, so are we ready for such a response?
But I can assure the American public and the world that this administration is prepared and ready to defend American interests and assets, not just in the region, but here on our homeland as well.
All right, so we'll have to obviously wait and see what happens. Donald Trump has been silent. I would say unusually silent, but he has been silent on the socials this morning, not posting anything that I can see that KGB has seen regarding Truth Social and anything related to the next couple of weeks. But again, it could be a head fake. It might not be. It is 6:51. Go take the poll and tell me what you think. Are you in agreement with Donald Trump's decision to put off any kind of action for 2 weeks? Watch us on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Give the host a thumbs up if you would. By the way, right now, KGB, what are people saying? We've had the poll up for about 5 minutes. This is an instantaneous poll. What are people saying?
85% say yes, they agree.
85% say yes, they agree. I think by and large that people just trust Donald Trump to do the right thing. I think that's what it is. This is a man who, and I just explained his fears over what happened over Libya. This is a man that has watched time and time and time again that these kinds of things have gone south. And he does not want that to be his legacy. And he knows that anything that he has ever done can be overshadowed by the wrong decision here regarding Iran. And he's not going to be manipulated by Benjamin Netanyahu. He's not going to be manipulated by the war hawks like Lindsey Graham. He's also, by the way, not going to be manipulated by, people like Tucker Carlson. Donald Trump is going to turn to the advisors that he trusts, and he's going to make whatever decision he's going to make, despite all the noise that is surrounding him. And that's why I trust Donald Trump to make this decision. 6:52 on Super Talk 99.7. Jay Harper is in the newsroom. Jay, what's coming up at 7?
Yes, Dan. Americans caught in the middle of the Israel-Iran fighting, they're being welcomed in Florida. Also, downtown interstate road closures this weekend. We'll fill you in, and we'll have the latest market numbers. That's all coming up at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here, Dan Mandis here, 6:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You paused just a little bit, KGB, and you know that I'm going to jump in. But that's on me. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about DT McCall's. The reason is that I'm so excited about DT McCall's. You know what they're doing tomorrow? It is their Customer Appreciation Day tomorrow at their Carthage location. Now, what they want to do, DT McCall's, they want to say thank you for over 100 years of doing business in Middle Tennessee. Again, it is their Customer Appreciation Day. It's on Saturday, and they've got massive discounts at their Carthage store. They've also got prizes and drawings and free food as well from 11 to 1. Free lunch on DT McCall's. It is DT McCall's, and as they say thank you to you, check them out, their Carthage location tomorrow. All the details right now at dtmccalls.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That's dtmccalls.com. 6:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My audio up, KGB? All right, very good. So real quickly, Jasmine Crockett, of course, was on The View yesterday. And here's a little tease as to what she said.
You know, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period.
Yeah. She actually calls, and I've got the audio coming up, she actually calls Donald Trump supporters mentally ill. So that has led Caroline Leavitt to say, you know what? Jasmine Crockett is a rising star, sure, in the Democrat Party, but also in the Republican Party, because her mouth really does expose how sinister and ignorant and arrogant the Democrat Party is. I've got details and brought receipts, and it's all straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Jay Harper. It's 7 a.m., and I've got your top stories, also a weather forecast and a traffic report coming up. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been at the airport in Tampa this morning. He's welcoming back a flight arranged by his state for Americans that were stuck in the fighting between Israel and Iran. He says the state of Florida has arranged several such flights.
Given that the airport's totally shut down, given that the neighboring areas aren't exactly easy to navigate, this was probably the most challenging and logistically difficult mission that the Florida Department of Emergency Management has done.
About 160 people were aboard this one flight. They were caught in Israel by the shutdown of the airport there. This flight picked up people who made their way to Cyprus. Back here in the Nashville area, gear up for some road closures on area interstates this weekend. The State Department of Transportation, they're going to be conducting a full road closure on I-24 from I-65 to I-40, also known as the Downtown East Loop. This is the area by Nissan Stadium. Crews with the construction company, they're going to conduct a full road closure on 24 eastbound from the 65 split to the 40 merge. That'll start tonight, and it'll run until 5 o'clock Monday morning. They're going to be resurfacing I-24. Boy, that they need it. So there's some bridge expansion joints there that need some repair as well. Traffic's going to be detoured to the West Loop, so just kind of plan on being a little stuck, but again, it's for a good cause, if you will. There will also be some lane closures on I-40 near the airport this weekend. As you know, they're reconfiguring all that over there. So again, just be advised. Let's turn to the market numbers report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found online at beaconcm.com. With this morning's money news, here's Jim Ryan.
After a little movement Thursday, we're poised to end the week on the downside, with futures overnight pointing to a lower open. The Dow Jones fell 44 points yesterday to close at 42,172. The S&P slipped a fraction. The Nasdaq gained 0.1%. Asian shares edged up overnight as fears of an impending U.S. attack on Iran are eased. The White House is expected to decide in the next 2 weeks whether the U.S. will get involved in the Middle East conflict. Canada's Prime Minister is floating the possibility of new tariffs on American steel and aluminum if the two countries can't reach a trade deal in the next 30 days. Earlier this month, President Trump hiked U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50%. Some ready-to-eat chicken fettuccine Alfredo meals sold at Kroger and Walmart are being voluntarily recalled after a nationwide listeria outbreak. The Home Chef pasta products have been linked to 17 illnesses, 3 deaths, and a miscarriage.
Let's take a look at the stock futures before the opening bell. They were down all morning, but now they're up. The Dow futures up 61, the S&P up 9.5, and the Nasdaq up 47.5. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Good news on the traffic front in the Nashville Metro. No accidents or breakdowns to report. We are seeing a little bit of a slowdown in certain areas north of the city due to some fog. There's some foggy areas, especially around Trinity Lane on 65 coming into the city, and also north of the city around Millersville, looking at some pretty intense fog there as well. But aside from that, we're looking good. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.707 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And welcome on into your Friday. It is June 20th, and hope you're having a great day. Guy had said on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986, he had said, you haven't mentioned Whoopi Goldberg today. Well, apparently he missed the entire segment that I did yesterday on the incredibly ignorant remarks of Whoopi Goldberg, but I believe that we did podcast that segment. If you want to hear that, then you can go find the podcast. But I will tell you this, that as ignorant as Whoopi Goldberg sounded, talking about how, black people and their lives here in America in 2025 is just as bad, if not worse, than what is going on in Iran. Just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So if you want to go find that, you can. It is at 997WTN.com. Jasmine Crockett was on The View yesterday, and whoo boy. Let's just go down some of these quotes really quickly, because I love that Caroline Levitt says that Jasmine Crockett, she's actually a rising star for the Republican Party. And I see what she's saying, because Jasmine Crockett goes out and she called Trump supporters sick and mentally ill. Yeah, she did. Listen.
This idea that we don't care how many people get hurt, we don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick, and anybody that supports it is also sick.
So, Trump supporters, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, we're sick and we're mentally ill because somehow she believes that we have this little army just for us. Prostitute our service members is what she said. I'm not even sure where she's going with all of this, but memo to Jasmine Crockett. Military recruitment is up, and I mean way up, under Donald Trump. 12.5% increase overall. The Army is 4 months ahead of schedule. The Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, they have all increased their targets for recruitment because the numbers are going up under Donald Trump. You know why Donald Trump is doing so well with the military? It's because he appreciates the military, unlike you, Jasmine Crockett. I mean, we saw that last weekend. Donald Trump has an entire day dedicated to the birthday of the Army. And what do you folks decide to do? What did Democrats decide to do? You Democrats in Nashville and in all across the country, you decided to distract from Donald Trump's great message by coming out with a No Kings protest, which, by the way, did absolutely nothing but make you all look dumb.
And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, it's sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays and I would be happy. But right now we have someone who does not care, and he is being enabled by the fact that there are, people that follow him and they pump him up.
Wow.
As well as the people that are surrounding him.
Isn't that amazing that Jasmine Crockett, do you know what I almost called Jasmine Crockett just now? Jasmine Crockett.
Dan.
Jasmine Crockett.
I was thinking the same thing.
Were you thinking the same thing, Jay?
Absolutely, I was.
I'm telling you, what a crock of crap.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
and
much
I'm sure
better.
Jasmine Crockett crap.
many listeners are nodding their heads right now in their vehicles or wherever they may be.
Jasmine Crock of crap. Can we put that on a hashtag, make it work?
Ooh.
Anyway.
Get a sponsor for it?
Sure. Jasmine Crock of crap. Anyway.
Safe House would.
Ironic, though, that she's talking about the people around Donald Trump, right? And the people around Donald Trump propping him up. Really? You know what happened with Joe Biden, right? Jasmine Crockett crap? You know what happened with Biden, where he literally had people actually, yes, propping him up. They used AutoPen for everything that he signed. They were clearly making decisions for the president who was clearly not fit for office. Yet she says that Donald Trump has people around him that are propping him up. Got it.
My heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to protect democracy and freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now, literally, the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander-in-chief.
Sorry, lady. But if George Bush were in office today, we would probably already have those service members fighting in Iran. I think that we would. If George Bush were in office today, those service members that she pretends to revere, that she pretends to love, that she pretends to appreciate, if Bush were in office today, we would already be fighting in Iran. Planes in the air and all that. So I love and appreciate, frankly, the care that Donald Trump is taking with all of this, taking 2 weeks. And it is kind of funny. Have you noticed this? So she spends the last 2 minutes calling Donald Trump and his supporters mentally ill, and then she calls for all of us to come together.
It really breaks my heart, and I don't know how far he has to go before we can come together and just say, enough is enough.
Yeah, we're all going to come together after you just called us all sick and mentally ill. Jasmine Crockett crap. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about what she said, and I do love what she said, what Caroline Leavitt said. Listen to this. She says that Jasmine Crockett is a rising star for the Republicans.
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up, outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime, and she can see it for herself.
There you go. And she's absolutely right. Caroline Leavitt, she's right. Now, there is also other examples of Jasmine Crock of crap, where she was asked if she saw any mental acuity issues with Joe Biden. I've got that audio for you coming up next. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Very good. Thank you. 7:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather for this weekend and for today, high of 90, partly cloudy. By the way, I did hit some of that fog this morning coming in from Mount Juliet. Saturday, a high of 94, mostly sunny. And on Sunday, high of 95 and isolated thunderstorms. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Question: did you ever see any issues with Joe Biden? Jasmine Crockett lying to the American people. Listen.
I never saw anything in Joe Biden that made me wonder whatsoever. And it's not that I was with Joe Biden every single day, that's for sure.
Did you ever watch the news, Jasmine Crockett crap? Did you ever see the clips on social media, Jasmine Crockett crap?
But I will tell you that I will take a broken, or however they want to describe Joe Biden, over Donald Trump any given day. Because number one, I know Joe Biden's heart. And I can tell you that when you look at the legislation that he was able to push forward with, this wasn't legislation that was about him and his rich friends. It was legislation that was for the good of the American people. And when you look at the people that he surrounded himself with, even if you're saying that there was a mentally deficient Joe Biden, I know that he absolutely had a mental acuity that is supreme when it comes to comparing him to Donald Trump, because at least he kept good people around him. He kept people that would keep us safe in this country.
So clearly she's lying. Obviously she's lying. Obviously she's gaslighting. You know what I wonder, though? As we approach the midterms next year, because let's be honest, we have had book after book after book and article after article and article written on the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental acuity. It is now a known fact that there was a cover-up, because there was. And we've been talking about this for years. So, as we approach the midterms next year, do you know what I wonder? Will the media start playing this game, and they should, with the Democrats? Remember when the Democrats used to hammer, right? They would hammer. The media would do this too. January 6th. And they would always ask new candidates or candidates up for re-election, whatever, that were Republican, was the 2020 election stolen and all of that? Remember that? And for the media, it became like a litmus test, if you will, as to whether or not you were an acceptable Republican. If you said, no, the election was not stolen, then you were considered among the media as an acceptable Republican. On the left, you were considered an acceptable Republican. But if you said, yes, the election was stolen, then you were not an acceptable Republican. You were a conspiracy theorist and all of that. So here is my question for the media. Open question. Given that we know, because you all have now reported, trying to clear your conscience and find some credibility again, will you in the media start asking people like Jasmine Crockett Crab and all these other people who were up for re-election, was Joe Biden fit for office? And if you say yes, then you should get your butts handed to you in the midterm elections, because you continue to lie to the American people. You continue to gaslight the American people. And the media should pound this heading into the midterm elections. Will they? No, because the media is culpable as well in the greatest cover-up in political history. So yeah, that litmus test for the Democrats should now be, was Joe Biden fit for office? Here's more.
He kept people that would make sure that even as tensions were rising all around the world, that we were keeping those tempered. He was able to understand, with his level of mental acuity, who our friends were. He was not getting us into unwarranted tariff wars and things like that. So even...
Wait. So one of the things that she says is that Joe Biden didn't get us into any unwanted tariff wars. Would you like to talk about him getting us involved in Ukraine and that whole train wreck? And I don't mean to, regurgitate the same monologue, but just humor me for 60 seconds. Joe Biden and his weakness did get us involved in Ukraine and Russia because of the failed pullout of Afghanistan, right? Not only the failed pullout of Afghanistan, but also the very weak sanctions against Russia. So if you want to talk about, Joe Biden and these unwanted tariff wars, okay, whatever, but let's talk about the unwanted involvement with Ukraine and Russia.
Us into unwarranted tariff wars and things like that. So even if we want to say, which I refuse to accept, that Joe Biden was mentally deficient, let me tell you something. His mental deficiency is still 1,000 times better than what we currently have.
Do you know what I love about this, too? Because this was my morning, right? I'm watching Jasmine Crockett, and she's on with, Whoopi Goldberg and all of these other cackling hens on The View. They are sitting there, and it is like rapt attention. It is like they are watching, Moses with the 10 Commandments, right? I mean, that's the way that they're treating her, like she's some sort of just brilliant political mind. Well, I will remind her as well that no, Joe Biden did not get us involved in any tariff wars. But under Joe Biden, what we did have? Inflation. That was up over 9%. Gas prices skyrocketed. The prices of stuff that we would buy every single day skyrocketed under Joe Biden. So you can sit here and you can yammer on and on about, the tariffs and all that kind of stuff. But here we are, 6 months into Donald Trump. Inflation has gone down, I believe, every single month since Donald Trump has taken office. Right now, you know what inflation is? After Joe Biden had it at 9-point-something%, 2.4%. After 6 months with Donald Trump, 2.4%. Did anybody at The View, anyone in the media, ask your favorite Democrat about that? They can gripe all they want about tariffs, but the reality is that we're paying a lot less for goods and services under Donald Trump. Manufacturing jobs on the rise, consumer confidence on the rise, blue-collar wages, we spoke about this earlier, on the rise. So Donald Trump is doing very, very well, despite all of this predicted chaos of the tariff wars that they keep trying to convince us is happening. The reality is, I just showed you and told you a lot of things that are going really well under Donald Trump. And by the way, we have finalized deals with China and the UK.
And so, I just wish that ultimately this country would judge each of our leaders with the same measuring stick. We do not. There was a lot of pressure that was put on Joe Biden. There were a lot of criticisms that were lodged at him as well as Kamala Harris.
Well, but it was the Democrats that forced him out. It was the Democrats that forced Joe Biden out of the race in 2024. So honest to goodness, this half the time when she speaks, she really does seem like she is trying to actually help the Republican Party as opposed to the Democrat Party. And I don't know if this is, a deplorables kind of comment.
This idea that we don't care how many people get hurt. We don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick.
I don't know if this rises to the level of the deplorables comment, but I think it is definitely something that we should keep handy as we head into the midterm elections, because I'll be honest with you, it is incredibly inspiring to listen to her because it makes me feel more connected to, President Trump and everything that we've been going through for the last 10 years. It is 7:25, and Jay Harper is in for Joan. Jay.
Yeah, Dan, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll have a story, more attacks overnight in the Israeli-Iranian conflict. We'll have the latest on an apparent planned political attack in Memphis and unrest in downtown Nashville last night. We'll explain what that was about. That's coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. It's 7:25. Stephen Bucci is coming up next. All the latest on Iran. Now, let me tell you something. My friends at Contours, they've been helping people out all across Middle Tennessee lose inches in the middle. That's right. If you're a little worried, have you seen the weather this weekend? It's going to be really hot. If you're worried about trying to fit into that bathing suit because you're just, wintertime, pack on the pounds, well, they can help you at Contours with their Belly Buster Special. Now, you've heard me talking about the Belly Buster Special. They can help you lose inches across the middle. I've gone through this process. Others have as well. Taking advantage of Contours red light technology, it not only is incredibly unique, but it is also effective. And right now, they do have the Welcome to Summer Special. $99 gets you that first Belly Buster Special. 615-236-9960. That $99 is a huge discount, and it is waiting for you when you call 615-236-9960. First 10 callers gets that deal for $99. Take advantage of this great special. Find out all about the Belly Buster Specials and the red light technology at Contours at their website, contoursllc.com. $727, Dan Mandis here from Mark Spain Real Estate. The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain is the easiest way to sell your home. You can save time, make the most money, and eliminate all the hassle this summer with Mark Spain Real Estate. They were ranked on the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing companies in America for now the 8th year in a row. And there's a reason for that, the guaranteed offer. They respond fast, and yes, they're one of the most experienced real estate teams in Nashville. That guaranteed offer means that you're going to get the most money for your home with the least amount of stress and hassle. 855-299-SOLD. Get your guaranteed offer today. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD. Find them online anytime. MarkSpain.com and start packing.
Good morning. It is 7:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a weather forecast, a traffic report. They're both coming up. More attacks overnight on both sides of the Israeli-Iranian conflict. That, as Iran's leading diplomat is set for talks in Switzerland today. ABC's Ian Pannell is in Tel Aviv.
This morning, European diplomats meeting with Iranian officials in Geneva to try and find a negotiated end to the conflict. But Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi saying they won't talk with anyone while Israel continues to attack.
It is the latest case of suspected political violence here in the U.S. A man arrested in Memphis after allegedly climbing a wall near the home of the Memphis mayor, Paul Young. Police say several suspicious items were found in his vehicle, including rope, duct tape, and a taser. The mayor was reportedly at home with his wife and kids. More from ABC's Pierre Thomas.
That 25-year-old suspect in Memphis, identified as Trenton Abston, he's been charged with attempted kidnapping and stalking. He's due in court later today. All these cases have elected officials across the country on edge.
This comes after the shootings of two Minnesota lawmakers and an Ohio congresswoman who says, a congressman, says a guy with a Palestinian flag tried to run him off the road. Back here in Nashville, at least two men were arrested after a soccer rally turned, rather rowdy and took over Lower Broad last night. Soccer fans, they're in town to watch the FIFA Club World Cup match at Geodis Park tonight. Around 10:30 last night, a group of about 400 to 500 fans, quote unquote, marched down Broadway and stopped at the flagpoles at the end of the road there at the Cumberland River. The crowd shut down the road without permission. They had no permits and ignored officers' demands to divert to 2nd Avenue toward Commerce Street. Two people, they were arrested for discharging fireworks into the crowd. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thanks, Jay. It's 7:32. Dan Mandis here. And, I've been telling you for years about my friends at United Structural Systems. They are experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. I think I've used them at least 2 or 3 times, as a matter of fact. This is a great company. They have helped me several times with my home. That is why I proudly endorse United Structural Systems. I'm one of 30,000 satisfied customers. And listen to this recent review on Google. Guy says at USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. They treated his home as if they were working on their own home. He gives United Structural Systems 5 stars all the way, and so do I. Now, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs. They're not going to pay, you're not going to pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. Now, they can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement and wall stabilization, and foundation repair. Go to their website, ussTN.com. They got a whole massive list of all the things they can help you with as it relates to maintaining your home. We guarantee our best. Call USS 615-488-7855, ussTN.com. Dan Mandis here. I want to tell you about my friends at Stoltz Co., a great Tennessee company that does continue to grow and expand is what they can do for you. Now, you know that Stoltz Co., they build pole barns, and these pole barns can be used as anything you want, to be honest with you. It's a garage, an event space, an equestrian building, even barn dominiums living in these pole barns. Yes, you can live in them. These days, pole barns or these barn dominiums, they are new and improved when you call my friends at Stoltzko. They're now offering you turnkey options. Now, what that means is they handle the design, the construction, and the amazing finishing touches. So you call Stoltzko and you turn the key and you're home. And right now, they also offer storm shelters to keep you and your family safe. Check them out online, Stoltzco, Stoltzco.com. If you've got some land that maybe needs a building or whatever you want, you call them, Stoltzco, at 615-622-5992. Their socials are amazing. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook to see examples of their incredible work around Middle Tennessee. Stoltzco.com, Stoltzco, Stoltzco.com.
We are still looking pretty good around the metro here this morning, traffic-wise. No accidents or breakdowns to report. We have that fog advisory till 9 o'clock, and it appears to primarily be affecting areas north of the city. We are seeing some slowdowns due to the fog at the 65-24 merge coming in from the north. There around Trinity Lane, there's a backlog there. The same, some slowdowns up around Millersville. Of course, there's construction up there on 65 South. That's not helping matters any either, but the fog, again, concentrated up that direction. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Big developments in the Iran-Israel situation, and we heard this from Caroline Levitt yesterday.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Stephen Bucci with the Heritage Foundation, foreign policy and military analyst, joins us. Always great perspective and analysis. Stephen, were you surprised by the president's move yesterday?
No, it's kind of makes sense. The stuff that's going on right now, the president doesn't want to go to war. He campaigned on a very different view. He wanted to stay out of foreign entanglements, but he also has shown that when he thinks it's necessary for America's interests, he's more than willing to do that and do it robustly and well. And then here, we've been watching the Israelis day by day continue to attrit the capabilities of Iran, one, to protect themselves. The Iranians are basically naked right now. They've got no air defenses left at all. But every time they shoot one of their offensive missiles at Israel, the next couple of days, there's fewer missile launchers there because they plot where they are, they follow them, and they kill them. So every day, their ability to retaliate against any action is going down also. So waiting a couple of days has, makes a lot of sense, has a lot of potential benefits. The biggest being maybe we don't have to do it at all. But otherwise, if we do have to do it, if the president does finally conclude that it's in America's interest to use our unique capabilities, our weaponry that nobody else has, to finally destroy 100% the Iranian nuclear program, then he's going to do that.
One of the things,
but only if it's advantageous.
Right. And one of the things that Iran, and I was talking about this earlier, is Trump, puts it aside for a couple of weeks. Iran is now out there boasting that all of its nuclear material has been moved to a safe place before Israel struck their military sites. This is sort of a common thing for Iran to do, is to say that they've moved their nuclear material. Talk about that. They've said this before. Are they bluffing? I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's not really, call it what it is. It's not bluffing. It's lying.
Okay.
Iran, they're also saying, look, if anybody hits us, they're going to pay a price that nobody can believe. With what? I mean, these guys are the same military that lost to Iraq, a decade or so ago, or a couple of decades ago, I guess, who have been unable to do much damage at all relative to what's been happening to them, to Israel. All of their other means of retaliating, which they've always counted on, which were Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Syrians, all of that is gone. They really don't have any cards to play, but still they're puffing their chests, they're pounding the table, saying that, you touch us and, there's going to be heck to pay. Yeah, I'm not believing it. I didn't believe it all that much for a long time. I'm darn sure not believing it in the last couple of weeks. So maybe they did prepare, but they didn't know when Israel was going to attack. Israel didn't give them, a lot of warning that would have allowed them to do that. They have kept their stuff under wraps and buried underground for a long, long time, thinking it was safe. And the Israelis have shown, not so much, because Iran is eaten up with Israeli intelligence agencies and their operators. Heck, Dan, they built a factory to make the drones they use to kill all their high-ranking folks inside Iran. It was sitting there. There was a joke on Twitter where they said the Iranians had hit a Mossad headquarters in Israel, and it was a satire site, but they wrote back and said, yeah, that's okay, but all our guys are in Iran right now anyway.
So I've got CNN on in here. Iran and Europe meeting. They're having talks in Switzerland today. The Iranians came out, I think it was yesterday, and said that they weren't actually interested in negotiating with Donald Trump because he was in bed with Israel. And Vladimir Putin has come in now, and he is saying that he would be glad to take part in the negotiations. Britain has also come out and said that they would take part in any peace talks as well. I don't know. Is there a place where they could negotiate constructively with Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely not. Vladimir Putin has no credibility. I can't believe the other Europeans want to talk to him other than about his blatant invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. He's not exactly a peacemaker kind of guy. But he's looking for credibility. He's looking for people to think of him as, the head of a superpower. That's what his whole thing in Ukraine is about. And it's just not there. The Russians are not a superpower anymore. They're a third world military that happens to own nuclear weapons from a legacy set of programs. Heck, the Russians have to get troops from North Korea to help them. Yeah. How much credibility do they have as far as being a world power anymore? So that's a distraction. That's nice that the Iranians could say what they want, but they're either going to negotiate with Trump, or Trump is just going to take out what's left of their programs. And the Israelis, they don't really care what anybody says. They're going to keep doing what they feel is in their interest to do to protect their people. And, the Europeans can wring their hands and say, well, Israel is not cooperating. Yeah, they've finally given up on trying to please the goofy European governments who are either anti-Semitic or just silly with their approach to this. The Iranians, Dan, for 4 decades have said every time they do a public address, death to Israel, death to the United States, the little Satan and the great Satan. I mean, they haven't backed off on that one whit. Why does anybody think we can still negotiate seriously with them? It's just not doable.
Well, and that brings me to my next question, which is Donald Trump saying, okay, he believes that we can come up with maybe some sort of a diplomatic solution in the next couple of weeks. My first thought was maybe this might be a head fake from the president. He said earlier this week that, he'll make a decision and within seconds, action is happening. So is this possible head fake?
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I don't know that it is. I think he actually would prefer if Iran, came to their senses and said, you know what, no mas, we're done. Come in, send people in, take all the rest of this stuff out of here, but stop the bombing and leave us alone. Because at this point, the mullahs are in survival mode. And, they can pound their chests and all they want. Nobody gives them any credibility. Right now, the biggest threat to the regime in Iran is not the Israelis or the United States, it's the Iranian people. And, they realize their time is limited unless they make some big changes, but they are fanatic followers of a very fringy, Shia Islam cult. It's not the predominant view of Shia Islam around the world. It's clearly not the predominant view of Islam around the world, but, the Iranians think about 3/4 of the Muslim world are as bad as you and I, that they're apostates too.
Yeah.
So this regime needs to go. If we can slow roll this, do those kind of head fakes, hopefully the Iranian people will step up and get rid of this regime. Nobody is blaming the Iranian people for this. Nobody's calling for all-out war against Iran.
Right.
It's war against this regime. And I don't think the participants are going to back off, including President Trump.
Would you call, because there's been some debate on this, as far as the elections in Iran? I mean, how would you describe them? Would you describe them as credible? Would you describe them as rigged? Controlled might be another word I've seen. What would you say?
They're definitely not credible. The mullahs, the very small group of mullahs, choose the candidates. Anybody can apply to run, but they will say, no, you can't run, you're disqualified. And so all of the candidates are people that are completely acceptable to the very small group of mullahs at the top, the Supreme Council. That looks a lot like a Politburo to me. It's just a religious one. And then in the elections, if it looks like it's not going the way the mullahs want it to go, they just change the votes and declare a victor. So no, those are not credible elections. Do the people get to go to the polls? Yeah. They used to go to the polls in Moscow during the Soviet period too. They get to go to the polls in China. These are not credible elections. So no, they're not democratic in any way, shape, or form. They don't pretend to be. Yep. They are entirely theocratic by their rules. And in that regard, they think democracy is an abomination. They think that's the craziest thing in the world. So anybody who's thinking that is really,
Misinformed.
The Iranians don't even claim that.
Well, Whoopi Goldberg, among others on the left, believe that they have credible elections. So and that's why I wanted to throw it. I know it's very funny. Whatever. All right. So
it is. I mean, Whoopi is not exactly a political scientist.
Clearly not, and we're reminded of that every day. All right. Last question. One of the things that I thought was actually really interesting is I was reading some analysis of the actual terrain of Iran last night. It's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, surrounded by mountains and deserts. And deserts, they could actually like swallow tanks, from what I understand. Natural fortresses, they would say. So if there was sort of like an escalated battle here with Iran, would it be mostly an air war? What would a battle actually look like? So far, we've seen only bombing, but we've only got 90 seconds left. But, if that happens, what are we talking about?
Nobody wants to go into Iran in a land war. The Israelis don't want to conquer them that way. They got too many Muslims under their control now that are a pain in the neck. They don't want to own Iran. They just want Iran to stop being a threat. The United States has even less interest to do that. So I would say this is going to be completely a standoff war. It's going to be aircraft, drones, cruise missiles, standoff missiles from sea-based platforms. There's not going to be a bunch of Americans running around there. There could be like small numbers of special ops kind of guys going in doing very specific things. But the Israelis kind of got that part covered already. So I don't think you're going to see anything from the U.S. side but long-range standoff capabilities.
And we'll leave it there. Stephen Bucci, always great having you on, and appreciate your analysis this morning. Always, at least to me, spot on, and have a great weekend. It is 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Jay Harper is in the WTN newsroom. Jay, what's up?
Yes, Dan, President Trump giving a timeline for, whether there will be direct U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict. A mission to the ISS put on hold, and Bonnaroo attendees not happy. We'll have those stories coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, we had spring. Now here we are in summertime. It is officially moving season, a time filled with hours of packing and unpacking and so much bubble wrap. But the first thing you should do when moving into your new home is to make sure that the Wi-Fi is booming with Xfinity. It is super quick and it's easy to set up. I've done it many times. And then boom, you'll have your new home hooked up with the ultimate Wi-Fi experience faster than the time that it takes to parallel park a moving truck. Then you'll be back online with the most reliable Wi-Fi with the best in-class equipment from Xfinity. So you can just kick back, relax, and stream your favorite movies and TV shows while someone else deals with all those boxes. Because with Xfinity, the only thing you'll have to worry about is remembering where you pack the remote. Make the right and easy move with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com/move. That's Xfinity.com/move. Restrictions apply, not available in all areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi claim based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed broadband experience report to August 2024. 7:58, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening. A lot of people tuned in the middle of my interview with Stephen Bucci, so we'll go ahead and make sure that we podcast that. Also, check us out on YouTube, if you would. Our numbers, by the way, are doing really well here on Nashville's Morning News. Very much appreciate that. Like and subscribe, if you would, to the YouTube feed. Give me a thumbs up, too, if you like. And also, our daily Dan poll of the day, it's we changed it midway through the show. Do you agree with Donald Trump's decision to postpone any kind of action against Iran for 2 weeks? So what are people saying now? Earlier, we had like 85%.
It stayed the same. It's still 85%.
Is it like 85% of the folks listening?
I will say, I think it's because, again, a lot of our viewers are anti-war, anti getting involved in international affairs.
Well, so is Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. So
is Donald Trump.
It goes with the MO.
All right, very good. Thank you, KGB, and thank you, folks, for not only listening, but watching, and also taking the poll. All right, coming up, have you seen what is going on in Chicago? OMG and LOL. It is all straight ahead on WTN.
Good morning. It is 8 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper. I've got your top stories, a weather forecast, and a traffic report. They're upcoming. 2 weeks. That's the promise from President Trump for a decision on whether the U.S. will launch a possible attack on Iran's nuclear program. The president citing the possibility of more negotiations with Iran for holding off. We've got more now from ABC's Mary Bruce.
The president's new 2-week timeline, a blow to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been pushing for the U.S. to get involved. Only the U.S. has the 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb capable of penetrating Iran's nuclear site 300 feet underground. It's never been used on the battlefield, and there are concerns about how effective it would be.
Sunday's scheduled launch of a rocket carrying 4 private astronauts to the International Space Station. It's been delayed again. Axiom, the company behind the mission, says it needs more time to evaluate some recent repair work to the space station. No new launch date has been set.
This is Jim Ryan. Axiom says its decision to scrub its AX-4 mission has nothing to do with Wednesday's massive explosion at rival SpaceX on the South Texas coast. Witnesses are still reliving that one.
It's definitely something I will never forget.
I was laying down and I heard the whole garage door move.
SpaceX says the blast was the result of a, quote, sudden energetic event, presumably a spark during the fueling of a rocket for testing. No one was hurt.
Well, excuse me, Jim. Here in Middle Tennessee, a growing number of frustrated Bonnaroo attendees are calling on Live Nation to issue full refunds following what many are describing as a disastrous festival experience marred by extreme weather, poor communication, and mismanagement. A petition on change.org demanding a 100% refund has already gotten more than 5,000 signatures, with signees citing long delays, unsanitary conditions, and last-minute cancellations of major acts as their key grievances. Attendees also describing being stranded in vehicles during severe storms, sitting in traffic for hours, and receiving little to no guidance from organizers as plans just fell apart. As of now, Live Nation has not publicly commented on the refund request. Now let's get to the market report. It's brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They're online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
After a little movement Thursday, stocks were poised to end the week on the downside, with futures overnight pointing to a lower open. The Dow Jones fell 44 points yesterday to close at 42,172. The S&P slipped a fraction. The Nasdaq gained 0.1%. Asian shares edged up overnight as fears of an impending U.S. attack on Iran are eased. The White House is expected to decide in the next 2 weeks whether the U.S. will get involved in the Middle East conflict. Canada's Prime Minister is floating the possibility of new tariffs on American steel and aluminum if the two countries can't reach a trade deal in the next 30 days. Earlier this month, President Trump hiked U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50%. Some ready-to-eat chicken fettuccine Alfredo meals sold at Kroger and Walmart are being voluntarily recalled after a nationwide listeria outbreak. The Home Chef pasta products have been linked to 17 illnesses, 3 deaths, and a miscarriage.
Stock futures are up now. The Dow up 120, the S&P up 17, and the NASDAQ up 79. That's the latest news, traffic, weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. We do have a report of a crash in Madison, Neely's Bend Road, just east of Gallatin Pike South. Aside from that, no other accidents or breakdowns. However, that fog advisory in effect until 9 o'clock, and we're seeing some fog primarily north of the city. Looking at traffic cameras, quite a bit of fog around Trinity Lane there on 65, also up north of the city around Vietnam Vets and up in the Millersville area on 65, foggy conditions. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.807, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So you've got, among all the stupid, hated Democrats out there, of course, you've got Gavin Newsom, or as Donald Trump likes to say, Gavin Newscom. You've got Jasmine Crockett, who I can't be the first one, Jay, that have thought about calling Jasmine Crockett Jasmine Crocko crap. And I actually wanted to use the SH word.
Yeah.
Do you know what? When Chris Hand and I start doing our podcast in a week or two,
yeah, all bets are off.
I can actually actually curse. I don't know if the company would allow me to do that. What's that?
You won't.
Oh, really?
Well,
are you challenging me?
100% challenging you.
Well, for
Your
dramatic
first-
effect, I mean, to do it occasionally.
Wait, so what, again, remind people, what is the title of the podcast?
The title of the podcast is Mostly Peaceful with Dan and Chris.
Okay, now you have to open the show like, welcome to the bleepin' show with...
No, I won't be doing that. I won't be doing
You
that.
got, all right, well, at least you got to, all right, curse once. But what's
Fine,
your
I
favorite
will.
curse word?
What's my favorite? I don't have
Yeah.
a favorite curse word.
Everyone-
I
everyone-
think they're all bad. KGB.
Wow.
Because I'm a saint, not a sinner. Anyway, whatever. Moving right along. So, and that, by the way, our podcast, we're really looking forward to that. Basically, the concept is he and I are going to play some audio. We're going to talk about it. We're going to laugh at the Democrats, going to have some insights into it as well. And everything's going to be like really quick, right? So that's what we're working on. And Mason Fleming is going to produce it as well. Looking forward to getting that done. Anyway, so you've got Gavin Newsom, you've got Jasmine Crockett, and you've got all of these Democrats, Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, they're a bunch of village idiots. And, you know, the mayor for the city of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. Have you heard what he said about Donald Trump? It's real quick. Now, there's a number of things going on in Chicago. You've got Brandon Johnson, who is basically telling Donald Trump, do not deploy federal troops, right? Because there's all kinds of things going on in Chicago. He is warning Donald Trump against deploying federal troops for immigration crackdown in Chicago, because this week Donald Trump said we're going to go after the big blue cities. So this is what Brandon Johnson said, Chicago mayor. This is what he said on MSNBC. Listen.
We're going to continue to make sure that whether you are black, brown, Asian, white, young, old, working people deserve to be prioritized. And this misnomer that there's division, and consternation within communities solely based on this issue is just wrong. He's working to eliminate black history. He is trying to eliminate black existence from this country.
Wait, what?
But he's also attacking the LGBTQ+.
I wouldn't say he's trying to eliminate black existence.
We're going to bring people together in this country to make sure we build the safest, most affordable big city in America.
All right, so I want to play that again. Remember, this is it's almost like they're all in a race to see which one can say the dumbest thing. Whether it is Whoopi Goldberg, whether it is Jasmine Crockett, now we've got Brandon Johnson.
New poll idea?
What's that?
New poll idea? Who said the dumbest thing of the week?
Okay, you know what? We can't do it right now, but let's do that at 8:35. I'll grab all the audio that I can, and we'll take a poll, because we got Brandon Johnson, we've got Whoopi Goldberg, and we've got Jasmine Crockett. So
Yeah,
that's three.
That's a tough three.
That is a tough three. I'm trying to think of if we have a fourth. I mean, if I really
It would be a
worked hard, I
distant
could
fourth, though, to be
probably
honest.
find. All right. Well, so I'll compile those three. Don't do it. Don't do it yet. We're going to do it at 8:35 with Chris Hand during the crisscross handoff. But anyway, yeah, that's what Brandon Johnson said.
He is trying to eliminate black existence from this country.
That is just it is so silly. It's like a race to the bottom with the Democrat Party. But that's not even the point of this whole segment. So in Chicago, you have, and by the way, I said to KGB, if you're watching Super Talk TV, I've got like a potty brain today, because when I started thinking about Chicago, I thought about the SH word, Chicago. Am I the only one that's ever thought about that? I can't be.
No, you can't. No, there's
I'm
no
not.
way.
Okay.
There's no way.
I didn't make that happen. I'm pretty
No.
certain that I didn't make Jasmine Crockett happen either. I don't think I was the originator of that. But I did tell people to put a hashtag on it. I want a nickel every time somebody says it. Anyway, so in Chicago, what they're doing, it's Friday.
Just thinking like, hey, I got 15 nickels today.
It's Friday and I want to go home. All right, so in Chicago, you got all these problems with illegal immigration. You've got crime. You've got the battles that have been going on apparently between, you've got like the Venezuelan gang members. You've got the black gangs in Chicago. I mean, it is hell on earth is what Chicago is, especially in the south side of Chicago. So Brandon Johnson held some sort of a meeting with the good people of Chicago, who, by the way, keep voting for the Democrats. And this is what happened. A bunch of black residents came to this meeting. I guess it's like an alderman meeting or whatever it is, like a city council meeting. And all these black folks came in, and man, they started yelling at Brandon Johnson.
You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit, and you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaign and double down that you would not raise property taxes. You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay, since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it.
All right, so that was one person. By the way, this was like resident after resident.
Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this right here first. Please come here first.
Yeah, Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out of Brandon Johnson and some of these other knuckleheads who are putting illegal aliens ahead of Chicago residents.
This was going to happen to you. You got Kash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're going to have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment. Conviction. That's what's going to happen to you.
All right, that's another one.
The people of Chicago, we're done with you. It is insane how we have been voting Democrat for over 60 plus years, and we've never seen a change from people like you, Lori Lightfoot, Rob Emanuel. It is insane.
It is insane. Do you know, there was a discussion, real quick, let me play one more.
So we're waking up. So you can pretend that this isn't happening, but I know for a fact that you will not have that seat the next election.
So there was some conversation about whether or not Donald Trump should just let these communities burn. Where it's like, all right, you know what? Chicago. You know what, Los Angeles? You know what, all of these big blue cities, if you want to go by way of like Baltimore and the south side of Chicago, and if you want to do that, then you go right on ahead. Just allow these cities to burn. And there was some serious discussion on that, and I totally understand those discussions. And as a guy who fled, I literally fled Los Angeles, a once incredible town, because of what happened because of illegal immigration and crime and the schools under, Democrat rule. And so there are those conversations. Why do we care so much about what is going on in these communities? Well, because it impacts all communities. Because if you allow all of these illegal aliens to stay, and especially if you don't root out the really bad guys, well, then you know that they're going to make their way to possibly a conservative red state near you. And that's what we are hoping to avoid. It's kind of like Kilmar Abrego Garcia and what happened here in the state of Tennessee when they pulled him over. And now we're having to deal with this mess. Oh, by the way, I've got some details on old Kilmar, courtesy of our friends at the Tennessee Star. That is coming up on Super Talk 99.7. Right now it is running a little bit late for traffic. 8:16, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, today it's going to be a high of 90, partly cloudy. Saturday, high of 94, mostly sunny. And on Sunday, high of 95, isolated thunderstorms as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right. Looks like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I'm just going to give you the headline here. The Tennessee Star is now reporting that his new lawyer is Rasco Dean, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. Rasco Dean. Now, old Rasco, is the son of former Nashville Mayor Carl Dean. Apparently, Rasco was a longtime federal prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney's Office. He has left that role, and it looks to me, if you look at the timing, it looks to me like, Rasco has left that position specifically to go and represent Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Remember, he is said by a grand jury, said to be a human trafficker. We know that he beat his wife, and we know that he was a gang member as well. So that's going to be interesting to watch, and of course, we'll keep you updated. Meantime, you also have CBS, and they had this interview with one illegal alien who works out in the fields, right? And she insists, and it's, dark silhouette kind of a thing, can't speak English, but she insists that she may not be a citizen. She may not be here legally. She may not have papers, but she's no criminal. This is what she said.
You are a criminal for being here without documentation. What do you say to that?
No.
Many Americans say that you are a criminal for being here without documentation. What do you say to that?
No podemos ser un criminal.
No, we couldn't be criminals.
No.
We know that we arrived without status, but a hardworking person who works in the field and puts vegetables on your table can't be a criminal.
What do you want the rest of America to know about you and others who work in agriculture, may not have their papers, but are going out there every day and working?
They should know that despite the risk we run of being detained by ICE, we keep going to work out of necessity. And thanks to that, they continue to have fruits and vegetables on their table. They eat and live off of the risk that undocumented people take.
So I think part of what's happening is that we have so many, for so many years and years, really generations now, we have normalized illegal aliens in this country. We have normalized illegal immigration. So now it's simply okay to be here illegally, according to so many, including this woman. Now, two things can be true. The farmers might need help, and the people they employ are illegal. I mean, two things can be true. So now Donald Trump is stuck between helping the farmers stay productive and keeping his word that mass deportation will happen. Now, you remember, we talked about it here. This week, Donald Trump said that he was going to ease up on the farming and hospitality industries. Then he reversed course. Border czar Tom Homan. He was asked about all of this by Fox Business and Stuart Varney.
Why the reversal?
Well, I don't think it's much a reversal, Stuart, but I think what the status is right now is we continue operations on farms and hotels. However, we do it in a prioritized manner. A lot of worksite enforcement operations are based on criminal information, criminal investigations, such as forced labor, such as trafficking, and such as tax fraud and money laundering. So we'll still do these operations, but they're going to be based on priority, just like our at-large criminal operations based on priority. Criminals first, national security threats first. But when it comes to hotels and worksite enforcement operations, we prioritize them and put the criminal operations first. So they're not off the table, especially when it comes to a criminal investigation.
Yeah, but he is looking at the criminals first. And the Trump administration has always said that. But here's the deal. The other part of all of this is that these folks are working under the table, and a lot of that money is being sent back to their hometowns, remittances. We need to be able to tax that money. Illegal aliens need to be taxed just like the rest of us. They need to pay taxes. And so for, Donald Trump, there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, he's going to lose support. The Republican Party is going to lose support.
In my view, you could lose political support when you deport non-criminal migrants. Does that worry you?
No, it doesn't worry me. I mean, the president got elected on two things: securing the border and running the deportation operation. Historically, look, we can't send a message to the whole world. You can enter this country illegally, which is a crime. You can have your hearing at great taxpayer expense and lose and get an order removal. But don't worry, we're not looking for you. If that's the message we send to the whole world, you're never going to fix the immigration problem. There has to be consequences. We gave millions of people due process under Joe Biden. Let millions of people in. They said, I demand due process. I demand to see a judge. And they had that right. But 90% of them lost. So the immigration judge says, you lose, you must go home. If we don't execute those orders, Stuart, then what the hell are we doing? You might as well shut down the immigration court, because the immigration court doesn't mean anything anymore. Take the border patrol off the border, because there's no consequences. We're national laws. We got to enforce those laws.
And Tom Homan is obviously right. And messaging is so incredibly huge. Now, quickly, new polling. Speaking of, political support, 56% of voters favor deporting illegal aliens, period, full stop. Among Republicans, 87% and more than half of 87% of Republicans and more than half of independents also believe that illegal aliens should be deported. Those are voters. But we all agree that legal migrants help the U.S. Legal migrants. 61% of Republicans believe that. And by the way, that is up big time from 35% that felt that way 2 years ago. So everybody, including Republicans, recognize that legal migrants, and again, I'm like bulleting the word legal migrants, do help the U.S. But Holman says, look, we do have ways to bring in migrants legally. And so this woman that is saying, well, we can't be illegal because, we pick vegetables. Here's the thing. There are ways to bring you folks in legally via the visa programs.
Well, there's a right way and wrong way to hire workers. There are legal programs that bring farm workers in. Second of all, I've been saying for years, Congress needs to address this. But because Congress failed to address it doesn't mean we ignore it. I mean, it's illegal to knowingly hire an illegal alien.
Right. So they've got all of these different kind of visa programs. For example, for temporary agriculture workers, they have H-2A visas. For hospitality visas, they've got H-2B visas. So there are different ways. As Tom Homan just said, there's different ways to hire these folks and hire them legally. And I know I'm running way late, Jay. I'm way late.
You know
what, Jay?
You're forgiven.
Listen, I work hard in this audio, and doggone it, I'm going to play every
Absolutely,
single audio
man.
bite that I have.
I hear you.
All right.
Hey,
I can say that, Jay, because the program director's out of town. It is 8:25. Jay, what's coming up?
Okay. Well, there was some unrest in downtown Nashville last night. We'll explain what that was about. An Ohio congressman, he claims he was run off the road by an anti-Israel protester, and a country music star says he's close to getting the president involved in a fight with the TVA in Cheatham County. Matt Murphy has been quite involved in that. We'll have that and more coming up at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. 8:26 on Nashville's Morning News. And Tony is joining us from Cabinet Solutions. Tony, always great to have you on. One of the things I love about Cabinet Solutions is that you've got all different types of cabinetry. Talk about that.
Yeah, we do, Dan. We've got cabinets for all rooms of the house, not just kitchen. Obviously, we've got several selections for kitchens and baths, which are common. But we've got a lot of answers for pantry, closets. Closets is a big one. People need some closets. Office, dining room, living room, laundry, mudroom, media rooms, man caves, or even she sheds, hobby craft spaces. And let's go outside. It's nice outside now. Outdoor kitchens and cabinets for your garage. So, while you're looking at the cabinetry options that we have, there's also loads of countertop options you can look at to make sure that you want to really make those cabinets pop. And we've got loads of cabinet hardware and LVP flooring. So we've got a lot for people to look at.
Well, and the thing that I love about Cabinet Solutions is that you've got cabinets not only for different rooms, but also different budgets as well. Folks, check them out online, My Cabinet Solution, no S, mycabinetsolution.com. Tony, very quickly, how can people find you directly?
They can find me on the contact tab. They hit that little contact us. There'll be a form they fill out, very quick and simple, that comes directly to me, and then I will reach out to them personally.
All right. All right. Thank you, Tony. mycabinetsolution.com. Dan Mattis here at 829. Listen, if you buy an HVAC unit from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, you are in for a trip to the beach, courtesy of Busy Bee. Yeah, they're having a contest. So you purchase that new HVAC unit here in the month of June. You're going to be entered to win that 3-day beach getaway. So you buy the unit. They're going to take care of the vacation, including gas, a couple of meals per day, lodging as well. The winner is going to be announced on Facebook Live. Now, don't forget all their June specials at Busy Bee. You get those air ducts clean. They are going to give you a free package upgrade. You buy the middle tier, they're going to upgrade you again to that deluxe package. How about $500 off select tankless or upright water heaters? Check them all out online, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, that website, busybeehvac.com. Call them, tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
Good morning. It's 8:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A steamy weather forecast along with a traffic report. They're on the way. At least 2 men were arrested after a soccer rally took place and pretty well took over Lower Broad in downtown Nashville last night. Soccer fans are in Music City to watch the FIFA Club World Cup match at Geodis Park tonight. At about 10:30 last night, a group of about 400 to 500 people marched down Broadway and stopped at the flagpoles at the end of the road there at the Cumberland River. The crowd shut down the road without permission. They had no permits and ignored police as they demanded the crowd divert to 2nd Avenue toward Commerce Street. 2 people, they were arrested for discharging fireworks into the crowd. An Ohio congressman now says he was threatened while out on the road. Here's ABC's Pierre Thomas.
You have an issue? Take it to our office.
That's Ohio Congressman Max Miller, who is Jewish, saying a man just tried to run him off the road.
Some unhinged, deranged man decided to lay on his horn and run me off the road when he couldn't get my attention to show me a Palestinian flag. Not to mention death to Israel, death to me, that he wanted to kill me and my family.
The incidents come amid a disturbing increase in political violence nationwide.
This incident coming after a man shot 2 Minnesota lawmakers, killing one of them. Back here in Middle Tennessee, country music star John Rich tells WTN's Matt Murphy show that he's close to getting President Trump involved in the fight to keep TVA from building a massive methane gas plant in Cheatham County. Rich says he recently invited TVA Senior Vice President and Chief of Government Relations Justin Meyerhofer to his home to discuss alleged intimidation of an elderly Cheatham County resident by TVA agents.
This time, you stepped on the wrong country boy. You stepped on the wrong one, and then I picked up my cell phone, and I had Donald Trump's phone number, and I showed it to him. I said, "Do you have this phone number?" He said, "No, sir." I said, "I do."
TVA has filed lawsuits against residents, and a federal judge has allowed agents to enter the properties to conduct surveys. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Thank you, Jay. At 8:33, Dan Mandis here. Listen, friends, if you are maxed out on credit cards, if you're struggling with high-interest debt, you could pay it all off in just a couple of days. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can get cash out right now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, and no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto is amazing. You know, one Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. So they paid off debt, they renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. Now, obviously, that is a huge turnaround thanks to my friend at Loan Pronto. Instant approvals, low rates, and no hard credit pull up front. It is your home equity. It is yours, and you should use it. You can get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Find them online. It is loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. Get debt relief now. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, unapproved credit, NMLS consumeraccess.org. 8:35 on Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here for my friends at the Glock store. You know, for quite a while now, you've been hearing me talk about how great the Glock store is. Now, let me give you a few reasons why. You know, the Glock store, they carry all the Glocks, both factory and custom. And they've also got the PBGs, plain black Glocks, at the lowest possible price. They've also got the factory-colored Glocks as well. Competition-ready race Glocks as well, and a whole lot more. Rare and discontinued collectible Glocks, beautiful custom Glocks, and the wildly popular Trump Glocks. Have you seen those, Chris? The Trump Glocks?
They're amazing.
They're
the
amazing.
Best.
They're the best ever. Basically, if it's a Glock, they have it, and basically it is at the Glock Superstore. They are a great place to buy your firearms. It's also a great place to train as well. The Glock Store, it is my place, again, to train. It's where I bought my first Glock, and I'm getting ready to buy a second one, as a matter of fact. Find them online if you need to train, if you need to customize your Glock as well, or if you need to buy that first gun like I did. Check them out online. It is Glockstore.com. That is Glockstore.com. Shoot270.com as well. That is the Glock Store. Minutes from the airport, worth a drive from anywhere.
We still have a report of a crash in Madison, Neely's Bend Road, east of Gallatin Pike South. Also, an injury crash reported in Antioch, Old Hickory Boulevard at Logistics Way, and a crash in Goodlettsville, Rivergate Parkway, north of Rivergate Drive. We are seeing the fog start to clear in some areas, but still up in the Millersville area, the fog rather significant. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
How would you like to have Jesus Christ pray for you? Did you know that Jesus Christ does pray for you if you're a Christian? Hebrews 7:25 says, "Therefore he is able also to save forever those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them." In Scripture, intercession means to pray on behalf of. Jesus Christ is your advocate. An advocate comes to our aid or pleads our case to a judge, offering support and counsel and interceding for us when necessary. In other verses, Jesus calls the Holy Spirit our advocate. Just like you talk to yourself, when Jesus talks to himself, it's prayer. The Bible says no matter what you go through today, next week, or next year, Jesus is praying for you if you have trusted him as your Savior. He's on your side.
.838, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan's been panically racing behind the clock to get ready for this segment. You know what Donald Trump says, right? Don't be a panickin.
I'm not being a panickin.
I mean, the words he said to me off air, I mean, good Lord.
I just wanted to make sure that we were ready for this, big radio bit that we're about to do.
Your favorite segment of the entire week
is the last segment that I do. You just happen to be involved in it.
I know it's a luck thing.
It's the most wonderful time of the week.
So it actually is, but off the air. By the way, on our podcast, can I cuss?
Yeah, we could do that, but we have to wait a couple minutes into the episode.
Oh, that's right.
Because we want to be able to tickle the algorithm the right way.
Yeah.
And you have to...
It will hurt advertisement.
You have to work your way up to the tickle.
Have to work your way up to the tickle.
That's what she said.
Chris Hand, 2025. I want a black and white picture of Chris Hand with a caption. You have to get close to the...
You got to work your way up to the tickle?
You got to work your way up to the tickle.
You know what, though? But when you do that, you've got to have a little meme of him, like, doing the tickle fingers.
Little wiggle fingers.
If that's not a T-shirt that would sell, I don't know what will.
Did you ever do tickle bug with your kids?
What?
No.
Tickle bug. Okay. Well, this
No,
it's kind of a
Is it-
visual.
are you about to do like Jim Carrey and Liar Liar with the claw? Is that what you're doing?
Here comes a tickle bug.
No.
I did that to Riker. I did that to my son and my daughter too. Here comes a tickle, and man, it got to the point where, because kids like to be tickled, so it got to the point where all I would have to do is show the tickle claw spider hand, the tickle bug, and they'd start laughing. I wouldn't even tickle them yet, and they would start laughing.
My dad would just put me in a chokehold.
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do similar to that. I'll
whatever.
just go full Jim Ross, and I'll be like, "By God, it's the Undertaker!" And
Yeah.
then I start choke slamming
Yeah,
him.
I would just get body slammed, and like my dad would throw me on the bed like it was nothing, and I would enjoy
Oh
it.
yeah,
I body slam them too.
you go full Razor Ramon.
Sure.
Hit him with the razor's edge.
I would hit my I hit my nieces and nephews with the F5 personally.
There you go.
Do you know what I did? I did
love to
noogies with
spin.
my kids. I did
That
noogies
hurts.
with
No,
my
that
kids.
hurts.
Well, I taught Brooks about the Indian sunburn the other day.
Ouch! Those were never fun.
Is that
No, when you do like the twisties.
Oh,
you know?
on the arm, yeah.
I said, hey, come here for a second. I got something to show you.
One of my close friends' dads.
What's wrong with you?
I'm just messing
One of my
with him.
close friends' dads used to do the handshake, but would like move the bone around on your pinky. Did anyone else do that?
I do that.
Yeah,
I do that to my boys.
that hurts.
Yeah.
Algorithm foreplay is what 7007 says.
Algorithm foreplay.
We gotta set the mood.
All right, so let's do. We gotta do. I worked hard on this.
He's so excited.
I was a panicking over
He
the
was a
break.
panicking.
All right, so we are going to do whose comment was dumbest.
Wait,
right?
you know what I think we should call this? Whacked out of the week.
Whacked out of the week.
Yeah.
Whacked out of the week.
Who is the most whacked out?
Who is the most whacked out of the week? Okay, whacked out of the week. Because it's like an embarrassment of riches this week.
It is.
You added a fourth one at the end there.
I did, and I added a fourth one that's hard to spell. Do you know what Amy said to me yesterday?
Instantly, we had a dark horse candidate.
Yeah.
You know what Amy said to me yesterday? You just like saying Afton Bain's name. Because it's like a villain name. It's like a cartoon villain name.
Well, to be fair, Bane is a bad guy in Batman, and Afton is another bad guy in the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Are you serious?
Yeah, both of those names separately are villain names.
But if she was a villain, she would be like a doctor, an Austin Powers villain, because she's so incredibly stupid at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
She would
Like
have the big mold,
yeah,
too.
we understand you're evil and a villain, but you're also mentally incompetent.
All right, so we've got to. At least Joe Biden had an excuse. He was old.
Yeah, the brain was rotten out.
All right, so we're going to do 4. And you folks go to the YouTube page, take the poll, and you tell us who is worst, okay? So we had Whoopi Goldberg talking about the lives of black people in America today and about how apparently she feels like the lives of black people here in America are worse than the people in Iran. Do I have that right?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, no one at Quran. Do not anyone at this table.
So there, I mean, it caused complete. Now, and Whoopi's getting crushed.
She should, because like a classic liberal, she goes, I didn't hear what you said.
Right.
I heard what I wanted to hear.
Her truth.
Not what you said.
It's about her truth, not the truth.
Yep.
So that's Whoopi, and that is choice number 1.
Do you think she, given how hard it is to be black in America, do you think she'd be willing to go move to Iran where it might be a little bit easier?
Think she'll be suspended again for like the 16th time?
I would love to buy her a one-way ticket to Iran.
Yeah.
Just you go right on ahead, Whoopi. If life is so much better in Iran, just please go.
Yeah, by all means. Nobody's slowing her down.
Jasmine Crockett calling Donald Trump and conservatives mentally ill.
And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, it's sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays and I would be happy, but right now we have someone who does not care, and he is being enabled by the fact that there are, people that follow him and they pump him up, as well as the people that are surrounding him.
Yes. Republicans are mentally ill for voting for Donald Trump. Brought to you by the party who wants you to let your kids cut off their bits.
That's exactly right. Did she say the mentally ill part in that actual soundbite? If she didn't, I got this.
My heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to protect democracy and freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now, literally, the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander-in-chief.
Which is it's funny because if you actually look at recruitment numbers, they weren't signing up until Donald Trump got into office.
That's what I said earlier. So Jasmine Crockett, Trump supporters are mentally ill. Then you had, this is Brandon Johnson, Chicago mayor, saying that Donald Trump is trying to wipe out black existence.
Erase it.
He is trying to eliminate black existence from this country.
Nice.
Brandon Johnson.
Didn't he donate to black colleges more than any other president?
He actually made it so that way HBCUs didn't have to come back for federal funding.
Trump's a big supporter of HBCUs.
Yeah.
Trump, he is such an evil, racist bigot trying to erase black existence. You know what he did in the 90s? He got an award next to Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali for his work in the black community. And you know what? That's exactly another example of him erasing black existence, because that award should have gone to a black person.
Brandon Johnson.
He is trying to eliminate black existence from this country.
All right, now.
That's so dumb.
Do you remember, like, when you actually continue that clip, even the lady is like, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
Even
Try to rein him in.
Even she's like, okay, let's back it up a tad.
All right, now this is Afton Bain. She is a state representative.
Ugh.
And this is what she said.
When she's not impeding ICE officials.
Yes, when she's not impeding ICE officials.
She's
she is
working
a
on
state
stuff like this.
Representative.
There's just no understanding of the ramifications of this. And so while they think they're protecting kids, they're really not, because these are the most vulnerable children in Tennessee. And we are now banning the health care that enables them to live productive and healthy lives.
So she's talking about, of course, the Supreme Court ruling that sided with Tennessee and allowing us to ban.
She leaves out the fact, too, that suicidal ideation goes up post these surgeries, according to numerous studies. I played that for Chloe Cole, who was on my show yesterday. Yeah. Detransition. She's like, how dumb is this woman?
Very.
Yep.
One word, very. All right, so those are the big four.
You know, I wish I could find the sad violin music with that Afton Bain, because that would go so well together.
Oh, it definitely needs a little sad violin treatment.
Whack job of the week, 5845. All right, so go to the YouTube page now.
Okay, do you want to know who's winning so far?
And vote. Who's winning so far?
Whoopi Goldberg is up at 48%. Jasmine Crockett's right behind her at 35%. Brandon Johnson is last at 6%. And Afton Bain is up at 12%.
Okay,
so it's between Whoopi and Jasmine right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Afton Bain might be a dark horse. She might get up there.
Does look like we have a battle of the broads going on.
Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, but
he's not.
he's.
I mean,
he's kind of a broad.
Yeah, I was going to say, put him in that category. Just add them all in there.
All right, moving right along. All right, so go vote.
Who's your favorite?
Brandon Johnson's one is so ridiculous. You can't defend.
Brandon Johnson's. So Brandon Johnson's. Let's just break these down.
Let's break it down.
So Brandon Johnson's is, simply put, a dumb thing to say, clearly race baiting, and a complete and utter lie. It's such a lie that nobody takes it seriously. Even CNN.
Even
was
CNN kind of laughed it off.
No. Jasmine Crockett saying Donald Trump supporters are mentally ill. Well, that's just inflaming, right? That's just inflaming. But the entirety of her appearance on The View was based on nothing but, lies and obfuscations and all of that. I think Whoopi Goldberg's, though, was so incredibly ignorant, not hateful,
but she
just
believes
ignorant.
it too, which makes it worse.
Yeah, the thing that do you know what makes it really bad?
What's that, Dan?
What makes it really bad is that she gets paid a lot of money.
She does. She makes
for all of this.
millions a year.
And she's so
Millions
oppressed.
a year.
She's so oppressed.
She sure is. Boy, isn't she?
Yes.
But yeah, people pay her for the for those kinds of opinions, and it's like, wow, are there no other aged actresses that they could put up on that show, The View, that actually have a modicum of common sense? That's the thing that I find so revolting. It's not that she feels like that. That's expected for Whoopi Goldberg. It's that people pay her to say it.
Millions
of dollars.
Really is unfair.
Would if you were to make Whoopi Goldberg's check, would you be willing to go up there and say outlandish things like that?
Yes.
Jeff would.
Wow, Jeff would.
That was
All right.
quick.
That was quick.
Nope,
Jeff.
I'll take the money.
Jay?
No, man, I could not go off the deep end like these people. Joy Behar, that whole crew there.
They're all nuts.
Oh, wait a minute. I have to reward Joy Behar. No, they have to double my money.
Would you?
I would, and I would go even further.
Would you really?
I would go even harder.
Wow.
I would make
okay.
Whoopi seem sane.
Okay, I would put in my contract, I do not have to interact with Joy Behar, though. Like, that would be in my contract.
The funny thing is, you would be so good.
I know.
You know what I mean?
You just lean into it.
Lean into it, man.
Yep, and you would sound you'd quickly be the leader.
I wouldn't, but I if I tried, I would have to I would start laughing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like
Chris would play it so cool. Chris would have he would have the poker face to make it believable.
Yeah, I could sell it.
Yeah, you would. Yeah,
you could absolutely sell it.
Just like he does all his spots.
Well, you know that Chris is actually a liberal, right? He makes a paycheck here, and so he's selling all of this conservative value BS.
He's secretly a single woman living on in Antioch.
I'm doing the long game.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Oh, by the way, you know what people have been doing to me all day?
What's that?
On the super text line?
What?
You remember in school when, people would like say something, it's like, oh, look over there. There's a this, that, or the other, and it made you look. So people have been telling me there's a booger on the microphone all morning long.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm literally looking at it because I'm so... I'm so traumatized by what happened earlier this week.
My favorite part of that whole event was when somebody came up to us. He goes, I'll tell you what, I've been listening to WTN for 20 years. 20 years. And Boogergate was the grossest segment I've ever heard. And all the guys start laughing. And I said, well, you must have missed the segment we did on dolphin rape.
That happened. We were there.
Did you plan? We didn't plan.
We did not plan that.
On dolphin rape.
No.
Chris probably had it in the back of his mind, but he was waiting.
Like all cases of dolphin rape, nobody plans for it.
Again, Chris is making too many T-shirts.
So the funny thing, though, is that...
It happens.
Is that these things all happen unplanned.
Yep.
Like, never in a million years did you think when you woke up that morning that you'd be talking about dolphin rape or that I would be... accusing Matt Murphy of putting a booger on the microphone when in reality
it's
moving right along. So
it's the best.
But that's what I love.
Yep.
All right, we got to go. So who won?
Whoopi Goldberg at 49%. She nearly had 50% out of 4 options. That's impressive.
Give the percentages and how many people voted.
We had about 100.
Okay.
Just because in that short time.
Yeah.
Jasmine Crockett at 31%, Whoopi Goldberg at 49%, Brandon Johnson at a measly 7%.
Step it up, Brandon.
Yeah, come on, do better.
It's like his approval ratings.
And Afton Bain moves up to 12%, and for a local instead of a national name, that's impressive.
Nobody here locally knows who Afton Bain is.
Do you like my? Amy said, yeah, I just said it. Amy said, yeah, you just like to say her name. She's actually Afton Bain has a cool name.
I thought we weren't doing Amy voice this week. I thought we were going to try our best.
Man, it's been a rough day it's been a rough week for Dan.
I thought you had a good week.
I had a good week. I had a good show today. I thought it was.
I meant just in terms of that kind of stuff, and then the
going to traffic.
Twice.
Okay. Oh, you know what happened to me yesterday? So I'm talking to Joan on the phone after the show, and I'm sort of Joan's on the phone, Amy's on the couch, I'm standing sort of near, and somehow, for whatever reason, I'm talking to Joan, and I spoke to Amy, but I called her by my ex-wife's name.
Oh, no.
Yep. I don't know what's going on with me, but...
I thought you were going to say mid-conversation you tried to throw it to traffic.
No.
Hold on, we got to take a quick break and check the roads.
Check the roads. All right, whatever. All right, Jay's here. Jay, go.
Yeah, Americans caught in the middle of the Israel-Iran fighting are being welcomed in Florida. We'll tell you about that. Downtown interstate road closures this weekend, and we'll have the market numbers. That's all coming up at 9 a.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay. At 8:55, Dan here for Specialty Coatings. Listen, business owners, if you've got a concrete floor that doesn't look very good, well, that is a reflection of your business. Specialty Coatings can help you. They specialize in concrete floor coatings and polished concrete as well. Now, they've been doing this for 30 years, and you've probably walked on some of their incredible concrete floor coatings. They've done the major sports stadiums in town, the arenas, the convention centers as well. You know that last year, Specialty Coatings in Nashville installed over 1 million square feet of coatings for businesses across Tennessee. Now, those buildings include manufacturing, warehouses, airplane hangars, retail, and a lot more. So check out some of their great work at their website, specialtycoat.com. That's specialtycoat.com. You can call them at 615-591-9491, 615-591-9491. They can help your business look fabulous. Email them, sales@specialtycoat.com.
Pastor and author J.C. Ryle once said, contrary to popular belief, hell is not a place God sends only the worst of the worst. Hell is our default destination. What that means is we need someone to save us, or we stand before God condemned to hell. But we cannot save ourselves. Only God can do that. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, for by grace you have been saved through faith, that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not as a result of works, so that no one may boast. Jesus Christ placed all believers' sins upon himself and died to pay for those sins. Why did he have to die, though? Because Scripture explicitly says the wages of sin is death. Wages means the same as payment, so payment for sin is death. There are no second chances to accept Christ and avoid hell after you die. So if you feel a prompting in your heart, it may be God drawing you. Scan the QR code to learn more.